Alrighty, welcome back everybody to our latest live stream. I hope everybody's having a good evening so far. We do have a lot to talk about though in terms of Hurricane Nicole. It is going to be making landfall later tonight on the east coast of Florida. Going to be most likely making landfall somewhere in between West Palm Beach to Palm Bay. Most likely area to make landfall will be Port St. Lucie. So we're watching the system very closely as it gets closer to land. But before we get too far into this, make sure to hit the like button down below and make sure you subscribe to the channel. But let's first begin with what's happening right now with Hurricane Nicole. It actually has officially become a hurricane as of a couple of hours ago. It has a category 1 strength with sustained winds at 75 miles per hour. It just went over the Bahamas and we've had peak wind gust reports from a METAR station near 61 miles per hour. So the wind gusts are definitely picking up there. On the other hand, once we get closer to the United States, wind gusts have varied across the coast. I was out there storm chasing earlier today. If you saw my Twitter page as well as over on YouTube, I posted a few clips of me actually storm chasing out there today, back over in the Jupiter area. I think it was kind of close to the Jensen Beach region, so that's where I was at earlier today, and it was very windy all day today. I went out twice. I went out once at 12 o'clock, went out once again at 3 to 5 o'clock, and I'll tell you some more stories on it here in just a moment once we kind of get further into this, after I get done this forecast. But it is very interesting. I'll show you some clips as well that I did not already show on Twitter as well. Again, Twitter has a lot of those clips, but I was storm chasing today. I wasn't live, but I was doing it off camera, and I was just doing a bunch of little clips and stuff. It was really cool. Again, I'll put some of those up here a little bit later in this live stream, but again, very interesting experience. There was a lot of things that you might be surprised by that I saw. But on the other hand, again, Nicole's gonna be approaching Florida here over the next really few hours. It's expected to make landfall most likely around 1 a.m. tonight, so it's another about 4 to 5 hours from landfall, but impacts are already being felt here across Florida as we're getting actually very close to high tide right now. Storm surge is definitely going to start peaking right now, and then obviously into the overnight hours once the secondary high tide comes into tomorrow morning. We have some heavy rain bands currently going through portions of Florida. Let me get to the high def radar and let's hop over to that and show you what that actually looks like here on the high definition radar closer to areas along the east coast of Florida, especially for areas from Vero Beach back through Jupiter. Wind gusts are currently being estimated near about 30 to 40 miles per hour. I would expect those are much higher though. Again, I was out there today. The wind gusts were upwards of 50 to 60 at some times along the coast. But here's a look at the current live radar. We are seeing some of the heavy rain bands right now moving northeast to southwest. So again, a lot of heavy rain is currently coming inland. I can't rule out an isolated tornado threat with some of these inner bands that we're going to be seeing from the eye, basically just kind of the west of the eye of Nicole. There could be a potential for maybe an isolated brief tornado or two overnight tonight. In fact, there is a slight risk of severe weather tonight for the potential for maybe a couple of tornadoes overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. And there will also be a tornado threat going into the next several days. I'll have more on that here in just a moment. But again, heavy rain bands starting to move inland. If we take a look at the velocities here, this is something that's kind of interesting. Going back closer to Port St. Lucie, if we look at the velocities on these storms, again, I can't even rule out a water spout over in this direction, but the winds that are being estimated here with the actual downpours and the storms are currently near about 50 to 60 miles per hour. So near Hope Sound, for example, northeast of Jupiter, winds are definitely getting up there right now in between 50 to 60 miles per hour. And again, that has been felt across the beaches as well here over the last little while. But again, we'll be watching this very closely. This is a wide view of it as well. Again, the current track from the National Hurricane Center is that this will make landfall most likely sometime again around 12 or 1 a.m. tonight. It will move through the central portions of Florida, potentially going into the Gulf of Mexico. It will not re-strengthen in the Gulf, but it will potentially go back in there. And eventually it'll move off to the northeast, weakening to a depression once it gets closer to South Carolina. Long term, this will go towards areas like New England and to the northeast. So this will be something to watch for long term as well. But for the short term, it's more going to be an impact to the southeast United States. All right, let's go over into the, let me just pull it up real quick. Let's get into some of the forecast graphics for today and kind of give you an idea of what to expect here over the next little while. But first, the infrared imagery across the United States. Again, you can see at the bottom right of your screen, that is where Nicole is. Hurricane Nicole, again, it is a category 1 hurricane now, moving towards Florida. We also have our jet stream back over here. This will eventually move further off to the east over the upcoming 24 hours. Therefore, Nicole will take a bit of a boomerang turn off to the northeast and will eventually impact areas up in New England, and as well as the trough that is actually bringing a snowstorm to areas in the Dakotas. We could see upwards of 18 inches of snow back up in that direction. And that area could potentially see, again, upwards of 18 inches of snow back up in North Dakota. So definitely be something to be mindful of. But the other thing here in Florida is the severe weather potential. Tonight, there is a slight risk of severe weather. It does extend from about Jacksonville back through about the Port St. Lucie area. There's also a marginal threat, dips down all the way to about West Palm Beach, goes all the way back up just through the very southeastern extreme area of Georgia. Again, maybe a couple of isolated tornadoes overnight tonight is going to be possible. So make sure you have a way to receive alerts in case there is any sort of tornadic threat. Heading into into tomorrow, there's gonna be much more of a tornado threat over a larger spanned area as well. This is an area to really watch where I think the tornado threat will increase more tomorrow in comparison to tonight. I do think the ingredients come together much better going into tomorrow in terms of a tornado threat. So again, from about southern portions of North Carolina, it does extend through areas into northeastern Florida. There's a marginal threat, goes from about Melbourne all the way back through about the eastern areas of North Carolina. So that's our potential for tomorrow. Again, a few tornadoes may occur tomorrow. Strong tornadoes not really expected. Again, typically tropical systems like this don't bring those long tracked or violent EF3 plus tornadoes, but I wouldn't rule out an isolated tornado or two. Again, I wouldn't see anything being that strong, but definitely make sure you're aware of it, and obviously make sure you're prepared for it, have a way to receive alerts and all that sort of stuff. Have your safety plan in place as well. Even crazier than that, going into Friday, the tornado potential increases over a fairly large area. This also includes the wind potential, but going into Friday, we have a slight risk of severe weather that's across 2 states primarily, technically 3, but really South Carolina, North Carolina, extreme southern Virginia included in that. We have a marginal threat that goes all the way back through New Jersey, which, by the way, New Jersey typically does not see severe weather by any means during the month of November, so it's definitely a pretty rare occurrence there, but that's all due to Hurricane Nicole's intensity as it moves off to the north and east. This is the future radar for the next several hours. So again, we'll have some showers and storms move inland. The outer bands are moving in right now. You probably already seen them if you're in Florida. They have been ongoing here for a little while. The inner bands will move in as early as 9 o'clock, so really within the next half an hour. They're already beginning to move in closer to West Palm Beach and Port St. Lucie. That means wind gusts will begin to ramp up in those regions over the next several hours, but closer to midnight tonight is when we're expecting a pretty close landfall. I would expect it to be around 1 to 2 a.m. HR model has been very consistent over the last 48 hours of this making landfall at Port St. Lucie. Seems very likely at this point. That would be near Jupiter, just north of Jupiter, Hope Sound area, that sort of area that we're looking at just a few moments ago. That is most likely going to be the area of landfall with this hurricane. Eventually by 3 to 4 in the morning, moves inland, and by tomorrow morning, by the time you wake up, it will still be inland, and it still has somewhat of a defined area there. Orlando will start to see some of those inner bands. Daytona Beach going to start seeing some higher wind gusts as well, and this will continue to move off to the northwest towards areas like Tallahassee and Panama City going into tomorrow afternoon and evening. It'll make a secondary landfall. Now, why is this not going to intensify over those warm Gulf, or really not warm Gulf waters, but over the Gulf waters? It's because the Gulf waters are not warm enough, actually. The temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico are in like the upper 70s. That's not really enough to really help this be able to fuel up that much. It will maintain some intensity, but not much. It's going to most likely be a pretty weak tropical storm by tomorrow afternoon into the evening hours, and it'll eventually move off to the northeast. Remaining going to Friday, if you're in Florida, just a couple of isolated showers or a storm or two is not out of the question. So overall, what is going on right now in terms of the track from the National Hurricane Center? Well, I want to point out one crazy thing real quick, and that is the wind field. The wind field is enormous with this hurricane. I mean, it's enormous. This is again the wind field of where we're seeing 39-mile-per-hour winds or greater. It extends all the way to Tallahassee. This is almost the size of the state of Texas. It is really remarkable how large this wind field is, and I'll show you an actual measurement here pretty soon, but I'm pretty sure the width of it is upwards of 700 miles. I could be wrong on that by a little bit, but that is how large it is. Again, going just from width from west to east, it is again incredible how large this is. We are seeing some very close to hurricane force winds over the Bahamas right now. That'll start to impact areas along the east coast of Florida, specifically again where it makes landfall, probably near Port St. Lucie. Eventually heading into Thursday into Friday, again it will maintain tropical storm intensity, but it will weaken down to a tropical depression and become post-tropical eventually going into Friday. So that's the current track at this point, but it will still make impacts beyond there. It will continue to move off the east coast, and it will continue to make some impacts up that direction in terms of rain and whatnot. Storm surge, if you already saw my videos and clips, by the way, I have more of them, but if you saw a couple of those clips from earlier, we were already starting to see some storm surge really make an impact to the coastal regions, the intercoastal areas, and as well as even areas on the beach. We were seeing waves much higher. I was out there basically at low tide today near Port St. Lucie when I was storm chasing, kind of over in, again, the back near like Jupiter and whatnot, Jensen Beach, those areas. I was over in those areas storm chasing. Again, there was a lot of water already getting very close to going into parking lots and really overflowing. It was only really a foot away from it. And again, we were at low tide. So you can only imagine what's going to happen overnight tonight with the storm surge. We're still expecting 3 to 5 feet of storm surge across almost the entire state of Florida on the East Coast. Only exception would be just south of North Palm Beach. It might be a little bit lower. So a little bit good news there, but still storm surge along the coastlines are definitely expected. And on the west coast of Florida into the Panhandle, be mindful. There's a potential for up to 5 feet of storm surge even over that direction. Once this hurricane, or when it gets over there, it's going to be a tropical storm. Once it gets over there, Nicole will still be producing some storm surge to areas in the west coast of Florida all the way back through Indian Pass. So make sure you're mindful of that if you're over in the Panhandle. And this is a infrared imagery look right now at Nicole. Again, there's a lot more convection over the last 24 hours than what we saw really a couple of days ago. I mean, this has really started to evolve much more into at least a tropical storm and now into a low-end Category 1 hurricane. So there's a lot more convection now. We've had that spin this entire time, though. It's been very impressive. Obviously, the intensification it's gone over the last several days has, again, been pretty impressive. But again, this is nowhere in comparison to what we saw with Hurricane Ian. Hurricane Ian, obviously, was a very strong Category 4, brought a lot more in terms of rain, brought a lot more in terms of storm surge, and all that. We're not going to see nearly those impacts with this. But the only negative to all of that is that Ian happened just over a month ago, and there's a lot of lakes and rivers that are still in flood stage. So we have to be mindful of that as well. All right, wind gusts over the next several hours. You're probably curious on when you might see the highest wind gusts. Let me see if it actually has updated. So let's go and look at the wind gusts here over the next several hours. So beginning with 9 o'clock tonight, that is within the next 20 to 30 minutes, we're gonna have wind gusts along the coastline peaking around 40 to 55 miles per hour. So it will get very strong, especially from West Palm Beach all the way back through Daytona Beach. And take notice, Miami is gonna be right around 35 miles per hour. So Miami will not see the greatest impacts from this. I do expect the highest wind gusts to really be in this part of the state for the most part. I don't expect it to be too much further south. The eye and all the wind has typically been on the north side of the system throughout the entire journey of Nicole coming towards Florida. By 10 to 11 o'clock, winds really pick up in Port St. Lucie and Palm Bay near 60 to 65 miles per hour. Caroline isolated gusts closer to 70. By midnight, this eye is getting awfully close to the areas like Port St. Lucie as well as West Palm Beach. And eventually by about 1 in the morning, it gets very close to landfall. HR models pushed out the landfall about an hour now, so it's actually closer to 2 a.m. So regardless, though, it's going to make landfall sometime during the overnight hours, so closer to 2 a.m. Wind gusts really ramp up in Palm Bay near 72 miles per hour. Daytona Beach still talking about 50 miles per hour. Even Orlando in the theme parks region still talking about 40 to 50 miles per hour during the overnight hours tonight. By 3 to 4 in the morning, makes landfall, eventually moves inland. We're still going to be talking about wind gusts even near the coastline, still upwards of 60 to 70 miles per hour, even well after the fact it makes landfall 4 to 5 hours later. By about 8, 9, 10 in the morning, we'll start to see still winds really high. I mean, we're still talking about, again, 60 to 70 miles per hour. Areas like Orlando and Daytona in that realm. Back up near Jacksonville, still around 50 to 60. And also near St. Augustine, we'll be experiencing that as well, back up that direction with around 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. And then back near Port St. Lucie and anywhere south of there, back near West Palm Beach and Miami, will start to wind down for the most part. And eventually going into the Thursday afternoon hours, it'll move off to the northwest. It'll go towards areas like Gainesville, Tallahassee, and Panama City. Wind gusts are still expected to be somewhat high up there, but not too high, not in comparison to what we'll see probably down near the Port St. Lucie and West Palm Beach area. But we could potentially still see 50 mile per hour wind gusts as it approaches those areas. And then eventually heading into Friday, we're going to see those wind gusts really start to wind down overall. What does this all mean in terms of rain, though? Obviously, for those that are wondering, how much rain am I going to see? Is this anything in comparison to what we saw with Hurricane Ian? No way this is going to be anywhere close to Hurricane Ian. I mean, this is going to be a quicker moving system, not nearly as much convection, meaning there's not as much rain. So the highest rainfall totals currently being forecasted would be back up closer to Jacksonville and Daytona Beach. Right now, probably around 3 to 5 inches at the peak. There is a possibility for higher rainfall totals across the east coast of Florida too. I do think this is an underestimate. We will probably see upwards of 3 to 6 inches closer to areas like Palm Bay, Port St. Lucie, and West Palm Beach. But again, nothing in comparison to what we saw with Ian, where it dropped up to 2 feet of rain in areas like Daytona Beach and the New Smyrna Beach area. So obviously nothing in comparison to that, but it is still going to be a pretty important tropical storm now hurricane to be able to watch here over the next several hours as it continues to make landfall and gets closer to areas like Florida. Let me go back over to the live radar. Let's go over to the loop again. I'll kind of show you again. If you're just tuning in, let's go over to here. And again, this will look right now at Hurricane Nicole. It will be approaching again over the next several hours. Wind gusts have peaked again around 60 to 70 miles per hour near the Bahamas. They have been varying a lot here on the East Coast. They're up near 45 miles per hour now, south of Palm Bay and north of Port St. Lucie. So just a heads up there, the winds are getting a little bit higher there. West Palm Beach is still around the 30 mile per hour range, so it has not gone too bad there. We've had upwards of 60 miles per hour right along the coastline, actually, near the Palm Beach Gardens area. That was actually a report from earlier today, so just keep mind of that. All right, let's go back over to here real quick. And I hope everybody's doing well, by the way, tonight. Whew, that was a lot of talking. All right, let me get my water real quick. So yeah, I was out there, just kind of a little story time. So I was out there storm chasing today. Obviously I was not live streaming, but I was over on the East Coast, closer to the Jensen Beach area in Stuart, Florida. Those are the two specific locations I went to, because that was where the eye was going to make landfall today. And it was really windy. I'm actually very sunburned, or kind of wind burnt more than anything right now, which is making me a bit more tired. So that's kind of another thing. But yeah, it was very windy at the beach today. Again, winds were upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour. I'll see if I can bring up a couple of those clips on here. I do have a few of them. I've posted them over on TikTok and as well as on YouTube as well. But let me kind of bring this one up real quick. This is just one of them from today. This was, again, let me just turn on the audio here.
Here in Stuart, Florida, near the beach.
So one kind of funny thing with this video is I don't have an actual microphone. I'm just using my phone microphone. The wind takes over everything. I mean, the winds here, this was at, I believe, Stuart Beach. They were upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour. So it was really windy. This is at about 5 o'clock, just after low tide hit. And the waves were getting really high already. And the water was getting pretty close to going over this area as well.
Minimum so far, and this will actually
So yeah, that was again over in actually I think that was Jensen Beach. I'm trying to remember correctly. I think that was Jensen Beach. No, that was Stuart. The Jensen Beach one, I don't know if I have on here. I have it on TikTok and YouTube, actually. So if you want to check that out, you can. But that one was much crazier because the water was actually higher. It was actually when I was leaving that beach. I think, again, it was Jensen. I'm trying to remember right, but I think it was Jensen Beach. Right on the beach, by the way. That's not the intercoastal area. The original area I went to earlier today was the intercoastal area of Jensen Beach. That was on the beach. The second clip that I did, and I didn't show it yet, but that was one where the water was actually starting to go over the sand barrier and was starting to actually go, I was about to go into the parking lot when I was leaving. So it was actually starting to get really high. And again, it was at low tide at 5 o'clock. We were at low tide. You can only imagine how bad it will get at high tide. And high tide was within the next hour or so near that area near Jensen Beach. So again, water is probably gonna get really high over here over the next several hours. Storm surge again up to 5 feet is expected. So pretty crazy stuff, honestly, that we're really expecting here across Florida. So let me see if I have some other stuff. Let's see. I have a few other photos and stuff. I took a lot of videos, but I'm not sure how many of them are actually good here. And this was also another little video here. Nothing too crazy, but this was a video of just the palm tree swaying. Again, this was closer to about 4:30-ish, probably. So yeah, again, the palm trees are swaying. Probably, again, tropical storm force winds at the bare minimum. A lot of rain out there as well in Florida. And yeah, again, it was a very, very windy out there for sure. And again, on the beach, it's worse. If you're on the beach, if you've ever been storm chasing before, which I don't know if any of you really have, but if you have, and you go towards the beach, again, there's nothing blocking the wind. So when you have all this wind just coming inland all at once, again, it really hits your face hard. If you don't have anything blocking it, if you don't have like a mask or something like that, you're gonna get you're gonna get wind burnt almost without a doubt. So with all the wind that we saw today, again, winds were upwards of 60 miles per hour easily on the coastline. And even earlier today in the intercoastal area, it was probably upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour. Even earlier today, that was near 1 o'clock. So again, it's been fairly crazy to say the least what we've seen out there. This is the infrared imagery, by the way. I'm going to kind of go over to a different I'm going to go to a different satellite here. I want to bring up this one. This is a little bit of a better one. So this will look right now at again, Hurricane Nicole. It is right now a category 1 hurricane. You're in a snowstorm warning. That's interesting. Okay. By the way, if you're just tuning in, make sure to hit the like button. I would appreciate it. Also, if you're new, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Let me bring up some of the more clips here. I have a lot of clips that I've not shown yet. I might compile this all into one video, but this was interesting. So this was earlier today. There was a boat right here. There was literally a boat that somebody decided to leave there. And now the theory behind somebody leaving a boat there, again, this is the worst place ever to leave a boat. Just kind of a heads up. Again, the water, this is going north to south here. So all the wind, all the water is gonna be crashing right into that boat. The only thought process is it is tied up to this wooden structure. If that wooden structure stays up after all this, I'd be surprised. But I think the thought process is here that they're trying to get insurance money. So there you go. But yeah, this boat, again, I was kind of covering this on a couple of videos earlier today. And yeah, somebody literally just left their boat there. there. Again, I think it was intentional more than anything. There was a sailboat out here at one point. So yeah, you can see this is a little sailboat out here. Somebody left that in the open water. Not sure if that's going to fare very well either, but again, that is again another kind of situation where again we were seeing a lot of high waves earlier today. This is again at around 1 o'clock. So again, intercoastal Jensen Beach area, I believe it was. And yeah, again, there you go. This person decided to tie their boat up right against a structure that does not seem very structural, especially since it's a very small, it's not like an actual structure. It's just like a little teepee or whatever, a little tent. It's not really much. So I don't know what the thought process really was other than that, but yeah, that's again what we experienced back over there in Jensen Beach today. Yeah, that boat is probably gonna be gone. I will, again, tomorrow I plan on doing an aftermath stream, so I actually will probably do a live chasing stream tomorrow that's actually streamed. So I will go probably back out there and see if it is safe. We'll see if it's actually safe by tomorrow. I don't know if it will be, but we'll kind of plan it out for low tide and see if it's still there. And at the very minimum, we can probably see it from a distance, but I don't know if that's gonna be there, honestly. It does not seem like that boat will be there for much longer. That's all I gotta say. I think it's gonna be a goner. Let's see what else we got here. We got a bunch of different stuff here. I also have a couple of photos. I don't know where those ever went. Let's see. I did a couple of little reports of the boat as well. So again, if you want to see the actual reports that I did, you can see those on, I have 2 on YouTube. I have like 5 or 6 on Twitter. There was a tree uprooted, by the way. Actually, I do have a photo of that. We did find a tree uprooted. It wasn't anything that significant by any means, but this was earlier in the day, so it is a little bit more interesting that happened earlier in the day. I actually have some photos on here too, but this is one of the photos that we had of a tree uprooted already. And again, this is just from the beginning of the winds. This is going north to south here. So again, that is your tree uprooted completely. And it's not a huge tree by any means, but it is obviously notable. And this was again earlier in the day today. So wind gusts were around 50-ish or 50 to 60. So obviously this tree did not have much left in terms of sustaining itself there, but yeah, that's definitely something to note. Also, we have another video that I took earlier today that I've not shown. I don't know what this one is, but this is another video here of the waves crashing. Not the best quality, but again, waves are crashing here. One thing I think that happens on this video is the person on the pier. So there was actually people. This is a pier right here. The water's already starting to go over this little spot here on the pier. So there was a person on this pier that we there was literally people fishing out here even earlier in the day, but this was on the second trip around. There was a person right here that you'll see that literally was just coming off the pier, and they were, I'm pretty sure, fishing. So yeah, I don't know what the thinking about that was, but I saw a lot of people fishing. Some people were actually on the bridge. Some people just decided to go on this pier that could pretty much break at any time. And that pier, I would assume, will not be there tomorrow. Again, there was already some pretty significant damage coming that way anyways. We saw actually at the end of that clip, there was I don't have it on here. It's on the next clip, but there was actually a little dock there that you bring the boats out, and that thing was already being destroyed. So I will see if I can find that. This is another video clip as well.
This is intercoastal.
Of the water as well, again crashing up on the intercoastal area. This is where the beach is. It's in the way background, so you won't be able to see that, but the waves crashing up here, again, this was very close. I saw cars literally just sitting out here as well. They were literally, I don't know if I can show it in this clip. I don't think it was on here, but there was literally cars right there next to it, and their cars are just getting soaked of salt water. I don't know what the thinking was of that either, but people, I guess, just want to get a car washed tomorrow. So there you go. But yeah, again, this is again over in the intercoastal Jensen Beach area, and then I think we have a couple of more. Yeah, we have a few more. Trying to see which ones are actually good. This is the boat situation. So I was doing a live report on the boat. I'll go and play the audio on this one for those that might have missed it already. Let's make sure the audio is on this. So yeah, you guys can watch this one as well.
Live here at Jensen Beach, and look over to my left. The wind is very strong. The waves are starting to damage this boat substantially right along the coastline. The only thing that's holding it up and keeping it inland is a rope attached to a very flimsy wooden structure. So that is not going to last much longer. Tropical storm Nicole will not make landfall for another 12 hours here near Jensen Beach, Florida. Waves are very high. We're also seeing very high winds between 50 to 60 miles per hour here at Jensen Beach.
So yeah, again, pretty interesting stuff out there. Again, I do plan on doing an aftermath stream tomorrow, probably going out there and chasing, but we'll see what happens. Again, we'll see what evolves here over the next 12 to 24 hours. I did also do another live report earlier. This is the first one I think I posted today, or no, this is the second one I posted. This was the first live report I did though, and this gives you a justice at least into what the winds looked like again at 1 p.m. So this was during the wind gusts being around maybe 50 miles per hour, maybe upwards of 60 at 1 p.m. Again, this was 7 or 8 hours ago now. It's pretty remarkable.
This is looking over the Jensen Beach on an underpass of a bridge. We're starting to see some damage. We've already seen the boat begin to sink around.
So yeah, my audio kind of cuts out, but that again, it was really windy at the time. So again, you can check out the full clips if you want over on Twitter. I have all of them on Twitter for the most part right now. I will be putting a couple more probably up on YouTube at some point, and I have a couple on TikTok. So yeah, there you go. All right, let's get to some of the storm questions and all that sort of stuff. Again, Hurricane Nicole is going to be approaching areas like Port St. Lucie here pretty soon. So let's kind of get to some of that sort of stuff. And yeah, again, that is... been a pretty crazy day. Again, I'm wind burnt to say the least. So this live stream probably will at least be 30 to 60 minutes. We'll see what happens. I don't know if I'll be live for the landfall. We'll see, but I'm exhausted, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, I'll have to get an actual microphone because I was not prepared for the wind to just overtake the microphone by any means. So yeah, that's a possibility. I'll probably be getting a microphone that would attach to my phone so it doesn't have that issue next time. But yeah, that is definitely an issue that I had initially, and I was not expecting that, but there you go. All right, let's go back over to the live radar real quick. We'll see if there's anything here near the St. Lucie County area. We'll see if there's anything additionally in terms of rotation. Again, we had a couple of pockets of maybe some broad rotation off the coast not too long ago. We'll see if there's anything still ongoing there. At the bare minimum, there are higher winds starting to approach the coastline, so definitely something to be mindful of. This is a look at the velocities. We'll see what's going on here. Just a moment. And there we go. So it's not nearly as bad right now. The winds that are highest right now seem to be closer to areas like Jupiter and Palm Beach Gardens, the brighter reds representing your higher wind speeds. So we are seeing upwards of 60 miles per hour right now near Jupiter, and that's inland, by the way. So definitely something to be mindful of. Again, we're starting to get some higher wind speeds, especially here right along the coastline. The estimated wind gusts that we've had as of recently are around 50, or excuse me, between about 30 to 50 miles per hour. So basically anywhere from about Palm Bay all the way back down about West Palm Beach is where we're starting to see wind gusts really pick up. Again, I was out there earlier. Wind gusts are much higher than what they're being estimated here on the METAR stations near the coastline. So if you're along the beaches, the winds are already up to 60 miles per hour. So we are seeing much higher winds closer to the coastline in comparison to what we're seeing a bit further inland, which all these METAR stations are slightly further inland. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, the winds were much higher. I was out there, so I have good experience of it, the winds being much higher out there. But again, this is a look at the live radar. This is back over to the other radar here. We'll keep a close eye though on anything that ends up developing there near the St. Lucie County area as well as West Palm Beach. We're also seeing some of the outer bands near Daytona Beach, Jacksonville, Gainesville. We'll start to see maybe some outer bands here in the next few hours. Again, it's just a couple of showers more than anything. The heaviest of the action is in these inner bands. We have a huge slew of just all this heavy rain that's moving inland right now into areas like St. Lucie County, back over to Hobe Sound, as well as West Palm Beach. Boca Raton is also starting to see a couple of those areas of heavier rain. So any of these yellows, even darker oranges, that's all representative of heavier rainfall that's now moving inland. Again, rainfall totals are not out of the question to get upwards of 3 to 6 inches when this is all said and done. So definitely be something to be mindful of. Again, we do have hurricane warnings in effect up and down the coast from about Coral Springs back through about Daytona Beach. There are tropical storm warnings in effect through South Carolina, goes all the way back through Miami, and even on the west coast of Florida. Again, storm surge up to 5 feet as possible in some areas. That goes from about Indian Pass back through about Cape Coral for that tropical storm warning as well. So yeah, the eclipse is fabulous. We're able to see it. I know North Texas was not able to see it. I did a forecast on that. Yeah, it's been kind of rough though, to say the least. In terms of the lunar eclipse, a lot of people had cloudy skies, so I don't know how many people actually saw it. That's gonna be our last lunar eclipse, by the way, for the next 3 years. So there you go. All right, if you have any questions, by the way, feel free to leave those in the chat. I'll be getting to some of those here in the stream. How you doing, Evan? Welcome back. Eclipse was amazing. It's our last one for 3-ish years. I think 3 years. So 2025 is the next time. I was not able to see it though, so it was cloudy. How long will this last? Well, it depends on what you're talking about. What will last long? Because the rain is going to continue. I mean, if we're just talking about Florida, for example, the rain is going to continue throughout the next 24, 36 hours across central Florida. Winds will really start to ramp up here over the next few hours. And if we go back over to here, Let me go back over to here real quick. The winds are going to be starting to ramp up a lot more here over the next few hours. This is the latest HRR model run, which has been fairly accurate to say the least. But again, wind speeds right now, wind gusts are being estimated somewhere around 40 to 50 miles per hour across most of the coastline. That will really ramp up by 10 to 11 o'clock tonight. Wind gusts will start peaking around 60 to 70 miles per hour in areas like Port St. Lucie, Palm Bay, Daytona Beach. All those areas are going to start ramping up in terms of those wind gusts. So winds, again, going to really start to ramp up overnight. By about midnight to 1 in the morning, it still most likely will not make landfall until probably 2 a.m. So again, winds will still be really up there, even as early as 1 to 2 a.m. That's really when we'll probably see the peak inland. By 3 to 4 in the morning, the winds will still be ongoing. I mean, we're still talking about wind gusts between 50 to 65 miles per hour across the east coast of Florida. Orlando will start to get higher wind gusts as well. I know for those that are over in Disney World, as well as Universal, I'm pretty sure they have like delayed openings tomorrow. So in correspondence to obviously seeing this hurricane making landfall, that's obviously a good precaution to take. By about 9-10 in the morning tomorrow, wind gusts could still be upwards of 50 to 60. I don't know if it'll get upwards of 70 at 10 a.m. tomorrow. It's not out of the question though. I mean, if we have the winds again coming out of the south and southeast, winds could definitely still potentially go upwards of 60 to 70 in that sort of scenario. Orlando will probably still be closer to about 50 to 60 is my really kind of forecast at this point. By 12 to 1 o'clock tomorrow, this will start to move into the Gulf of Mexico. And again, for those that are wondering, we have much warmer Gulf or Atlantic waters, excuse me, with temperatures between 80 to about 82 degrees. It's gonna kind of cut off here, but about 80 to 82 degrees is what we're seeing for water temperatures in the Atlantic Ocean, in comparison to about 77 to 79 degrees over in the northern Gulf of Mexico. So there's a pretty substantial difference there. Again, really for an intensification and having a tropical storm or hurricane strengthening, we typically need 80 degrees or above. And this is not meeting that expectation, so therefore it is expected to weaken overall, even if it enters the Gulf of Mexico, and it's not really expected to be in the Gulf for that long anyways. Really only maybe 5 to 6 hours it'll be in the Gulf of Mexico. By 6 to 7 o'clock, this is making landfall again back up near Tallahassee, so it'll be probably a weaker tropical storm by then. However, wind gusts could still get upwards of 40 to 50 miles per hour, with peak wind gusts near 55 to 60 not out of the question. Storm surge will still be possible, by the way, across this entire coastline in Florida. If we go back over to the storm surge forecast for tonight and as well as into tomorrow, we'll have to watch this potential still fairly closely. Storm surge up to 3 to 5 feet still possible across the entire east coast of Florida. The only exception, again, will be North Palm Beach and southwards. It'll be between 1 to 4 feet. And then back over on the west coast of Florida, from Englewood back through Indian Pass, this is a region that we have to watch for the potential for upwards of 5 feet of storm surge. Again, if you're comparing this to Ian and Hurricane Ian and what it did to the east coast, this is obviously this will be for the most part higher than what we saw with Ian back up to the north. However, we saw obviously back down near Cape Coral, for example, storm surge upwards of 10 to maybe even 15 feet. So definitely not going to see anything like that in comparison to Ian, but we will still see notable storm surge across really, again, the east and west coast of Florida. You need to take it seriously. If you've not already, make sure you do your evacuation orders if it's been required of you. It might already be too late if it's already starting to flood over there, but obviously definitely make sure that you have evacuated if you've not already, if you were planning on it, because again, this is already moving inland. It will be making landfall again within the next 4 hours, and the worst of the impacts are going to start to be felt as early as really 3 hours ago. I mean, again, high tide is happening now, so if you're along the coastal region, it's going to be almost impossible to evacuate at this point, because obviously the storm surge is going to be getting higher there. And again, this is the wind field, and I kind of made this point earlier. I'm actually going to go back over to the radar here in a second and give you an idea of what the size of this is, but this is potentially approximately the size of Texas in terms of the wind field. So again, it's huge. It extends very far to the west and very far to the east. The impacts are already being felt near Tallahassee with tropical storm force winds. So again, fairly crazy what we're seeing out there. If we go back over to the live radar here, I'm not sure if I can actually bring this up, but I want to bring it up. Let's see if I can. I cannot bring up that wind field. I'll go to the forecasted wind field. It's not going to be a good comparison. Let's kind of just do a guesstimate here, because I do have a good idea of what to expect here for the length of this wind field. So let's go ahead. It's about right here to about here. It's about 650 miles. I mean, it's about a good 600 to 700 miles wide. So again, it is a very large wind field still that we're seeing. Unfortunately, it does not pop up on here, and I don't know why. But again, we're still seeing fairly substantial area of a wind field. Again, I've never seen anything like it. Being that large for just being a Category 1 hurricane is pretty remarkable with something like this. Again, it's pretty insane. I mean, that's enormous. So yeah, again, 600 to 700 miles being a wind field is, again, pretty crazy. But yeah. All right, let me back to some chat questions. We had some super chats I think that I missed. Let me figure out where that was at. I don't know where it was. Did somebody super chat, or am I just missing something? For some reason it didn't pop up on here. If you have any questions, by the way, feel free to pop those in the chat. I'll be getting to them now. I've been saying it like 3 times. Thank you, Musk, by the way, for the $3.61 super chat. Appreciate it. Thank you. Also, thank you for Timothy off stream for becoming a hurricane chaser member. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, back over to the live stream. This is, I wouldn't say comparison to Sandy. I feel like they're pretty different, obviously location wise, and I feel like the way that they both kind of, I mean, if you compare them side by side, I don't feel like it's really that comparable. Yeah, I can't really compare it to Sandy. I don't know what I would really compare Nicole to, because Nicole, I feel like, is a very unique system. Again, coming into November, Florida, and assuming this is the 3rd hurricane to make landfall in Florida in November history, Florida's only seen 2 hurricanes ever make landfall in November prior to really in the last like 100 years. I mean, like the last 2 that we saw make landfall in terms of hurricanes in Florida during November, we had one in 1935, we had one in 1985. This would potentially be the 3rd ever hurricane to make landfall in Florida. Both of those, by the way, were category 2. This one's a category 1. It depends if it makes landfall though as a category 1 or if it makes landfall as a tropical storm. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. But my expectation at this point is, again, this will probably be our 3rd hurricane to ever make landfall in Florida during the month of November. Again, the first one made landfall back over Mexico Beach. Another one, I believe, made landfall near Miami, or somewhere on the West Coast. I can't remember the exact location, but there was a second one. I think it was Hurricane Kate and I can't remember the other one. It was Hurricane something in 1935. I think it was Hurricane Yankee, if I'm not mistaken. So those are the 2 hurricanes there. So pretty remarkable to say the least. But yeah, the wind field is enormous. So wind field is a huge feature to this entire thing. Let me go over to Twitter real quick and see if I have any posts, by the way, real quick here. Again, storm surge is already being felt across the entire east coast of Florida for the most part. So just a little heads up there. Let me see if there's anything else here on Twitter. Nope, I did not miss anything. All right, cool. Back over to the chats. Well, eye's been wobbly. Yeah, I mean, this is not the most, I would say, again, this is not like a category 4 or 5 hurricane or anything like that. Again, there's going to be some of those things where the eye is a little bit wobbly here and there. I would say it's been actually somewhat consistent, though, to this point. And it's actually a pretty large eye, I would say. I mean, this is a pretty decent area of really no precipitation in the center of this in terms of rain. So, again, let's actually measure this real quick. Let's see how far it is away from landfall right now from the very farthest west part of this center. Well, actually, we'll go from the direct center. So it's about 86 miles-ish. So the current forecast is that this will make landfall again around 2 or 3 a.m. It's moving about west, I'm pretty sure. Let me go over to the website real quick. I think it's about 12 miles per hour. No, it's moving 13 miles per hour. So if you do the math, it's going to make landfall most likely in about 5 to 6 hours. So again, around 2 to 3 a.m. seems realistic in terms of its landfall. Basically the furthest west of this eye will make landfall probably 68 divided by 13-ish. Will be about 5 hours. So yeah, 5 to 6 hours until this makes landfall, maybe up to 7 hours. So again, that's really between the 2 to 3 a.m. time frame. So that's when it's expected to make landfall overnight tonight. So definitely going to be, again, something to be mindful of there. Let's go back over to the measuring tool real quick. And let's turn that off. All right, cool. So yeah, again, this is a look right now at Hurricane Nicole. Again, a lot of the heavier bands of rain are already moving in to areas along the east coast of Florida, near Port St. Lucie, Jupiter, West Palm Beach, and as well as north of Boca Raton. Those areas are already seeing some of those heavier downpours, and we also have a few of those back up near Cocoa and Merritt Island and Palm Bay. We actually have a couple of live camps tonight that I can hop over to real quick. We have one over here in Titusville, Florida. We had this one last night. Gives you an idea of obviously the sign swaying there. Not too bad though right now. Then going over to, I believe, Cocoa, Florida. Back over near Cocoa, Florida, we have actually a little view of the water. It seems like this camera, though, has frozen for the time being. And then we also have another one back over into Palm Bay, Florida. This gives us an idea more of the wind more than anything. Again, you can kind of see some of those lights swaying. Palm Bay, for example, by the way, on our radar here, is going to be kind of on probably the northern side of this landfall. So the wind is really going to pick up most likely in Palm Bay. Wind gusts have actually been estimated near 45 miles per hour, a bit further inland, near the coastline, probably upwards of 60 right now. So wind gusts are definitely up there right now, and it's going to continue here over the next few hours. Latest from the METAR station in areas near Vero Beach has been right around 45 miles per hour, and a bit further inland near Lakewood Park, it's been around 30 to 35 miles per hour for the latest wind gusts inland. Again, they are much higher though if you're at the coastline, because there's nothing stopping the wind over the water. Again, I was out there today, it was at least 50 to 60 miles per hour when I was just out there at the coastline. I mean, it was pretty remarkable what was happening over there, but obviously further inland you go, a lot more trees are blocking the wind. So That's kind of the full breakdown, though, in that sort of regard. All right. Big eye for a Category 1. I would have to agree with that. Yeah, this is a pretty big system for, I mean, yeah, it's a Category 1 hurricane. It's pretty remarkable how large this is. If we can measure that out. Again, we got a very useful measuring tool here. We can measure out how large this actually is. It's approximately 50 miles. I'm pretty sure it's about 50. I think the thing is overestimated. But yeah, it's about 50 miles in terms of its width going east to west. So yeah, it's a pretty big eye, honestly. I can't remember what Ian was. If anybody knows the exact number, let me know. But yeah, this is a fairly large again, that's almost 50 to 60 miles large. That is pretty incredible. Again, the wind field to this is 600 to 700 miles wide going west to east. It's basically the length of Texas. Let's get an actual measurement though real quick on Texas, because I want to make sure this is a good comparison. Yeah, I mean, this is 500 miles just from here to here. So yeah, I mean, the wind field is pretty much the size of Texas that we're seeing with Tropical Storm Nicole, or Hurricane Nicole, excuse me. Now it's, again, a very large wind field. If you've not already seen on the National Hurricane Center's website, this is a look at the wind field, and specifically, again, this is how large it is. It is enormous. This could take up the state of South Carolina, North Carolina, and probably Virginia all combined. I mean, it really could. So it's already starting to be the tropical, and this is, again, the tropical storm force wind. So 39 miles per hour and greater is in this region here. And again, that's already impacting areas like Tallahassee, Florida, Jacksonville, all the way back down here to the south as well through the East Coast, and even on the west coast of Florida. The only areas that are lucking out right now is the Keys, and the Florida Keys won't see much in terms of tropical storm force winds, since, again, the most of the wind has been on the north side of this eye. The eye right now is here, and so you, again, can see that almost all of the wind is north or on just the sides of where the eye of Hurricane Nicole is right now. So again, it is very impressive what the system is doing. And again, National Hurricane Center is forecasting that this will make landfall as a hurricane, most likely around 1 to 3 a.m. tonight near Port St. Lucie. So that's the expectation again at this point. Storm surge is going to be pretty high there, and we've kind of gone over that already. But this is the infrared imagery as well. And the infrared imagery doesn't show as much of an organized eye as what it did over on our satellite with the radar view. So this is, again, a look at the radar, and it's much more defined on here. But if we go over to the infrared imagery, for example, let's kind of compare it. This is the infrared, and actually it still shows it pretty nicely, but again, it's not organized. This is not like a defined eye. There's a lot of, missing action here in terms of convection. There's not really like any organized convection right around the eye. It's kind of on the outskirts, but it's very spotty. So again, it's not an overly organized eye wall really at this point in terms of it coming towards the coastline. But yeah, again, it's definitely something to watch though. Again, it's gonna be moving towards areas like Port St. Lucie and as well as West Palm Beach and Palm Bay, so we'll have to watch this pretty closely. Wind gusts have peaked again, at least estimated near 60 to 70 miles per hour, again, back over the Bahamas, from those areas that have already seen the hurricane. It has made, I believe, 2 landfalls today in the Bahamas, so obviously a third landfall will be felt probably later tonight, if not into tomorrow, or very early tomorrow morning. I'm talking like 1 to 3 a.m. I'll most likely make landfall somewhere near Port St. Lucie, so that's the expectation again at this point in terms of what to expect with Hurricane Nicole. I keep saying Tropical Storm Nicole, by the way. If I do by accident, I apologize. It is a hurricane. Just to kind of get that clear. I've been saying Tropical Storm a lot today. So when I was doing my live reporting and stuff like that, I was saying Tropical Storm like all the time. So thank you, Tommy, by the way, for the $5 super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you. Hey, Rainbow, how you doing? Welcome back. I was doing my inner Jim Cantori today, by the way. We're on the coast. It's actually, it's actually a pretty good little interesting yeah, I would say it's pretty interesting going storm chasing today. Again, the things that I kind of saw today were kind of remarkable. Again, we're in Florida. There's a lot of people that were just fishing today on these piers, and I kind of showed you in one of those clips that I showed earlier. There was literally just people out there fishing. I mean, like on the piers. I could not believe it with how high the winds were and how high the waters were going to get. It was, again, pretty shocking to me, to say the least, in terms of what we saw out there. But we've had a lot of different things happen. I don't know if I have any other videos here. This is another video I actually have. This is a good video. Let me show you guys this one. Not the longest video ever. It's about 16 seconds, but gives you an idea of what the waves looked like at the beach as well. Again, the winds were really high, so what you're hearing is the wind. It was upwards of 60 miles per hour. If we kind of pause, if we pause it a little bit, again, the waves are the highest out in the distance. Again, if we had this camera like 10 feet higher, you would be able to see potentially 10 to 15 foot waves in the distance. Near the coastline, though, it's a little bit smaller. Obviously, they break a bit quicker here near the coastline. But again, very windy out there, to say the least. Back over again in the Jensen Beach area in Florida. And I know I have a few viewers that believe in that area. So, yeah, Yeah, again, that was just a view from what we saw out there. Again, it was quite remarkable to say the least. And again, this was the boat that I've been talking about that somebody left out. Boat has been crashed up here across the intercoastal areas. It is tied up, but it is a boat that is being destroyed at this point because of the coastal waters. Again, this was at low tide today in the intercoastal area, so really something to kind of keep in mind here is that this is low tide, what we're seeing with this boat. So imagine what high tide will be. This boat will probably either be against that wooden structure or it will be swept away to the ocean. Who knows what will happen with it? I will give you an update probably on that tomorrow. Once I do a little aftermath stream, and I'll probably be streaming that one, so I'll do a little aftermath live stream tomorrow afternoon, most likely, to go take a look and see if that boat is still there or not, if it's safe enough to look at that. So that will be something to kind of keep in mind. Again, I know a lot of you guys are actually wondering. I had a lot of people on Twitter asking me, is that boat still there? As of 4:30 p.m., it is still there, but whether it'll be there in 4 or 5 hours from now, who actually knows? I mean, again, the storm surge is going to get much higher. Again, that was at low tide. High tide is going to be at least 4 to 5 feet higher. So I would expect that over there in Jensen Beach, that boat will probably not be there. But you never know. If it does survive, I'd be really impressed because it is tied to that little wood, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. This is another quick little video. It isn't much, but I'll show you guys anyways. Again, I took a lot of videos earlier, but this is another little quick video. Just like 7 seconds, but again, just shows you the waves. They look very calm, by the way, and that's a big little, it's a big assumption that these look very calm. I can just go in that water, right? No, because the rip current, everything that goes into this, and as well as the higher waves, really get ramped up during especially the afternoon and evening tonight. And when you look at those waves up close, they do not look that bad, but trust me, they are a lot worse than what they look like if you're looking at them right from that point. Because actually, when we were looking earlier today, I didn't get it on a video, but there was water approximately like 20 to 30. Again, we were at, I'm pretty sure it was Jensen Beach. There was water about 30 miles, or not 30 miles, sorry, 30 feet, 40 feet probably away from really where we were. All of a sudden, there was just one wave, and it crashed all this water all the way up to the top, basically, of the sand bunker. There was a lot of people on the beach, by the way. I wish I got it recorded, but everybody was scrambling, running back. I mean, it was crazy, and there was a lot of people out there. I was surprised. There was at least 20-ish people, I would say, on the beach, maybe 30, just kind of all across, just kind of looking at what's going on out there. Not like obviously swimming or anything, just like kind of out there observing what's happening. And yeah, there was actually people there at the beach that were just, really close to the water. All of a sudden, the water comes flying up with this one big wave, and it actually started going to the parking lot once we're leaving. So the water was really, really high. And again, that was at low tide. So again, you can only imagine what was a high tide. I wish I had a video of it, but I did not. But yeah, again, crazy stuff that we've seen today from Hurricane Nicole. And again, that was when it was a tropical storm, but I mean, 5 miles per hour, not a major difference by any means when it comes to that sort of thing. But yeah, crazy stuff. Dan, if it's a lot, I don't think I can show that one, but if you have a link to it, you can feel free to send it to me on Twitter or Discord or something like that. Some of them I'm not allowed to show. Mikey, no, I don't think Jacksonville will have any worse impacts than what happened with Ian. I think Ian's definitely going to be a worse system anyways. Jacksonville most likely going to see wind gusts up to 50 to maybe 60 miles per hour at the peak. Rain is going to be pretty minimal up there, maybe a few inches at the most. It's not going to again be that comparable to what we saw with Ian, but storm surge definitely still a concern. Up to 5 feet is possible. The St. Johns River is a big concern because it's already in flood stage. So yeah, it doesn't matter. It's still copyright. I mean, copyright goes for every platform. It's not like you can show things freely. It's like showing some Storm Chasers footage when you're not supposed to. It's like literally the same exact thing. It's copyright everywhere. All right, let me scroll back up in chat real quick. I haven't really been answering questions. I've been trying to, but yeah, there's a potential for an isolated tornado threat tonight. There's actually, if we go over to the severe weather outlook, I wouldn't rule it out. I think it's a low chance tonight, but it's not impossible. We've already had a little bit of rotation off the coast, but this is the severe weather threat for tonight. It does extend from Jacksonville back through about West Palm Beach. And these areas, again, we'll see potential for maybe a couple of tornadoes overnight tonight, so have a way to receive alerts. But yeah, it's actually a pretty decent sized area today. Also, we have a new wind gust report that just came in of 60 miles per hour at the Klondike Beach in Brevard County. So just a little heads up. So that is a little wind gust report of 60 miles per hour. And that is up 54 feet, by the way. So just kind of a little reference there. Again, I was at Jensen Beach today, right on the beach. The wind was probably at least 60 miles per hour right there at the surface. So it was really windy there today, obviously, because, you know, the hurricane's coming. So yeah, it was really windy out there today for sure. But yeah, again, that is a new wind report that we just had come in over there in the Klondike Beach area. Let me turn this severe weather threat off today. But yeah, again, severe weather will be possible over the next 3 days. Southeast and mid-Atlantic are going to have that possibility. Again, slight risk of severe weather both today, tomorrow, and as well as Friday. I might go live for 1 or 2 of those. We'll see. I'm not sure yet, but I'm probably going to do an aftermath stream most likely tomorrow. So that's kind of my focus for right now. Titusville is getting some strong wind gusts. Let me actually, I do have a camera out of Titusville. Let's see if I can pull that one up. This is out of Titusville right now. Again, it's not the best camera, but yeah, it kind of shows the tree swaying a little bit. It's a little bit windier than yesterday. I was live last night doing a little discussion on this, but yeah, wind's probably picking up more closer to the coastline. Wind gusts seem to be probably around 40-ish miles per hour, maybe 35, 45 miles per hour. Seems like kind of what's going on there. Again, it's not the best camera view, but it's something. We have Cocoa, Florida as well, but again, I think that live cam froze. This is Palm Bay, which is going to be closer to where the eye makes landfall. Look at the water on the roadways right there, by the way. You can see the water. I wish I could circle it, but look at the water at the bottom right. All that water there. I'm pretty sure that's more of just, you know, rainwater, but this is in Palm Bay, Florida, so yeah, there's water there on the roadways, and obviously wind is picking up there. The camera's shaking again in Palm Bay. Interesting. And that is a lot of water there. I'm curious to know what that actually is. I think it's a lot of just maybe rain, but maybe it's some of the, I don't know. Definitely some water there, though. I'll investigate a little bit on that. Let's go back over to here real quick. We'll do a little investigating there. Hey, thank you, Kim, by the way, for the $10 super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you. By the way, if you've not already, make sure to hit the like button. I would appreciate it. Hey, Shelly, how you doing? Welcome back. Let me go over to real quick what we're looking at there in Palm Bay. I am curious to see whether that was water coming inland or not, because I am not entirely sure if it was, but it looked to be maybe. I'm not sure how close that is to the coastline, that camera. I need to check real quick. That's Palm Bay, though, so I will figure that out for you, like, right now. I'm looking at the map real quick. That's more likely than not going to be more of, yeah, that's probably what that water that we just saw was, most likely just a lot of rainwater, because the camera there is a good probably mile or 2 from the beach. So yeah, but yeah, that's again, we're starting to see some water kind of pick up there. Also, back up in the St. Johns River, I do want to see if we have a live cam there. We do have a couple of traffic cams up there. I'm curious to see if we have any decent views over there in the St. Johns River, because St. Johns River, by the way, is an area that could get some storm surge up to 3 to 5 feet across that river, so definitely be mindful of that. St. Johns River, again, a huge river in the state of Florida. If you're not familiar with Florida, again, that is one of the, I'm pretty sure it's the largest river in Florida. But let me look and see if we have a live count of there. I'm not sure if we do, but we do. I'll keep you posted. Storm surge, though, is definitely possible up there tonight and tomorrow. So 3 to 5 feet is possible, but I'll keep you posted if I find anything there. All right. Real quick, Twitter check. Not seeing anything. All right, cool. Back over to the live stream. Hey, no problem, Anna. Yeah, Palm Bay is starting to pick up some heavier rain, too. If we go back over to the live radar feed, some heavier bands of some showers is coming in. A couple of downpours just off the east coast of Palm Bay. Heavier downpours also to your west, so they're kind of in between you right now. But again, all these are moving currently to the southwest, and there's a possibility. Let's go over to the high-def radar. I'm curious to see if any of these are rotating right now. Cannot rule out an isolated brief tornado tonight. Again, that is a possibility with any given tropical storm or hurricane. In this scenario, again, this is a hurricane. So we'll take a look at the high-def radar here in just a moment. By the way, if you've not already, hit the subscribe button. I would appreciate it. Radar is going to be loading in here in just a second. There we go. All right, let's go over to the velocities real quick. We'll see if there's anything in terms of rotation out there with any of these little cells off the coast. And the only area that I've actually noticed really any rotation would probably be the one east of Port St. Lucie. We'll take a bit more of a deeper dive here, though. Go over to the storm relative velocities and see if it's the same thing there. Let's, for some reason my radar's frozen here. We'll take a second to refresh. There is a little bit of, maybe a little bit of rotation there off the coast. 1 second, I gotta refresh the radar. Seems like it's having some issues tonight, but we'll get through it. All right, here's a look again. There's maybe a little bit of maybe broad rotation off the coast. There's a little cell here near the just east of Port St. Lucie. Again, that is not going to be going directly towards that area. Again, for whatever reason, the radar is not working tonight. It decides to put this amazing light looking color across my screen, but that's a little cell. There you go. There's maybe a little bit of broad rotation with this cell. This one will probably be heading towards areas like Hope Sound, so maybe something to watch for if it can maintain its strength. Again, a lot of the showers and really cells that we've seen coming off the coast and going inland so far have not maintained really any intensity. It's mostly just been downpours for the most part, but this one does have a little bit more of convection with it, so we'll have to watch this one closely. Again, maybe a little bit broad rotation right now. No special marine warning for now, but will be something to monitor as it moves closer to inland. I would say that the higher tornado potential overnight tonight, again, will be probably up here on the northern side of this hurricane once it makes landfall during the overnight hours tonight, because we have more of a northwesterly direction with those cells, and they typically produce more of a brief tornado threat than the ones that go southwest. So, but there's a little bit of something there. We'll watch it closely. But the heaviest of the rain right now being seen across areas like Coral Springs, West Palm Beach, Jupiter, Hope Sound, Port St. Lucie is beginning to have another heavy band of rain come through. Wind gusts again upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour are ongoing right now. Near the beaches, right along the beaches, are probably around 60 to 70. And again, I was out there earlier today and they were at least 50 or 60 miles per hour. So it was very windy to say the least. Further off to the north, though, again, if we go further to the north, like Mare Island and Palm Bay, for example, more of the light sort of showers right now. Heaviest of the bands are still to come. This is the heaviest of the rain. Again, there's not a huge concern for flooding, but there is definitely a possibility with, again, all the storm surge that we're going to see with the lakes already being so high, a lot of them in flood stage still. There's obviously that possibility that there could still be some flooding, even though rainfall totals will only probably be between 3 to 6 inches. So definitely something to be mindful of. And again, if you're just tuning in, this is currently our eye right now. It's pretty large, it looks like, but that is right now the eye of Hurricane Nicole, and then we'll be moving off to the northwest. Sorry, I don't know why I forgot the name. That's gonna be moving off to the northwest. This is back over to the bit more of a low def radar, but this is the other little visual on it. So again, pretty large area for that eye to be, but convection has not been overly impressive around it. A lot more convection on the further outside areas of this, especially on the west and north side of Nicole. We're seeing a lot more convection. Again, more of those downpours, heavier rain, potentially going to equivalent to maybe a few inches of rain as well across the east coast of Florida and even potentially inland. Again, the highest rainfall totals are expected to be near the east coast and back through Orlando. So definitely going to be something to be mindful of here as it continues to move off to the west. Hey, thank you, Mystic, for the $2 super chat as well. I appreciate it. Thank you. Spot a single burger for McDonald's for $6. A burger at McDonald's is $6 now? Really? That's actually insane. Is that actually true? $6 for a burger? I feel like the last time I went to McDonald's was like $1 for a burger. Maybe one of the cheap burgers. All right, let me get back to some questions. Sorry, there's a lot of questions still, but I don't expect any strong tornadoes, Mikey. This is not most tropical storms and hurricanes don't produce strong tornadoes. With Ian, for example, it was a Category 4 hurricane. The night before was when we had a bit more of a small tornado outbreak, and there was a strong tornado. It was an EF2 tornado back, I believe, near, I can't remember the exact location. It was somewhere over here near like Boynton Beach or something. There was an EF2 tornado, but that was a kind of a scenario where it was more of just, again, that was kind of one of those tornadoes where, you know, we can occasionally see like an EF2. I've never really seen anything beyond that, though, with any sort of tropical storms or hurricanes, at least to this magnitude. If we're looking at this hurricane in comparison to any other ones in terms of tornado threats, this is not a system where I expect that high of a tornado potential. It's going to still be pretty low tonight and tomorrow morning. Brief tornadoes are possible. Going into tomorrow, there will be a higher chance, especially over here. I do actually expect a bit higher of a potential for a few tornadoes. Cannot rule out an isolated EF2 tornado if there were to be any tornadoes, but I would say the tornado threat is still on a bit of the lower side, but it's a bit more medium actually tomorrow in the Carolinas and as well back through Georgia. And then going into the following day, let me just show you the outlines so you guys can get an idea of what we're looking at. So slight risk again tomorrow. That'll extend from about Florida, so Jacksonville and St. Augustine, back through about Jacksonville, North Carolina. Savannah, Georgia is included in that, again, really along the coastlines. And then heading into Friday, that threat will start to go further to the north and east. And one one thing that's crazy that might be really miraculous to some of you, we have a marginal threat of severe weather back up in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, something that we don't really see this time of the year that often. So it is, again, really crazy that we're seeing that sort of threat that far off to the north. During this time of the year in November, it's typically cold. We're not really seeing any sort of tropical activity in November, typically that far north. But again, this is a pretty big exception. And there's a slight risk, though. The more focused tornado potential, if there is any going into Friday, which there will be, would be anywhere from about Charlotte back through the east coast of North Carolina and as far south as South Carolina and back even into extreme southern Virginia is going to have a potential for maybe a few tornadoes. So a couple days to watch for sure, going again into Thursday and Friday for sure. Yeah, so the eye, where I think it'll make landfall tonight, the eye is most likely going to make landfall here in Port St. Lucie. If it doesn't, it's going to make landfall somewhere between there and Vero Beach. That's my expectation. So somewhere in here near A1A will probably be where we see the landfall of Hurricane Nicole. Now, there's always a possibility that it goes slightly further off to the south or slightly further off to the north. Regardless, though, I do expect it to make landfall most likely here in between Port St. Lucie and Vero Beach. That's my expectation. HR model has been very consistent with that as well. A lot of computer models have been pretty consistent with that sort of thing. And again, it's taking that direct, this is basically the direction that it's going. So landfall will probably be, I would say probably closer to Vero Beach tonight, realistically, but it possibly could go a little bit further south. We'll see. It is going more west-northwest though now. It's going about 13 miles per hour, so it is speeding up now. It was about 9 to 10 miles per hour earlier today, so yeah. It'd be interesting to see what unfolds though. But yeah, I think it'll make landfall near Vero Beach. That seems very realistic at this point for Nicole. So yeah. No problem, Anna. No problem at all. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to respond to questions. Sort of. Try to respond to questions at least. Marco's Pizza. That like, isn't Marco's Pizza a chain? I had a Caesar salad like 2 hours ago, so I'm good. Thank you, Dave. I'm not in a situation where last time we were doing that tornado outbreak coverage, 7 hours in, and I haven't eaten. Oh, that was a bit more of a different story. It's a chain, okay. I thought so. I've actually never had Marco's though. I don't really eat chain pizza other than Blaze Pizza. Hey, Stealth, you'll be good. As long as you're a little bit further inland, you should be perfectly fine, honestly. It's more just wind. Make sure, since you're in Palm Bay, if you have your car parked under trees, do not. Because if trees fall down, they will fall into your car. I highly recommend that you go ahead and put your car away from trees if you are currently have your car parked in that parking lot over there in Palm Bay. Because again, if trees fall, and I've seen it before with Ian, even with back up in Daytona Beach, I saw photos. There was literally somebody's car that was smashed by a huge tree, and because they parked their car like underneath a tree. With Hurricane Ian, and their winds there were like 60 to 70 miles per hour. Fairly similar, by the way, to what we're seeing with Nicole near the center. It's around 60 to 70 miles per hour, wind gusts peaking around 90. So bring your car and move it away from trees. And I really hope you do, because that is a big thing that I've seen unfold from Ian. And obviously only a month later, we now have Nicole. So I'll make sure that you're taking those precautions pretty seriously there. That will be important. All right, back over to the chat here. Yeah, so, that's also a good point. Stay away from windows too if you can. Make sure you stay away from windows. I don't think you'll have too much of an issue with that, but just make sure you're staying away from windows. Just be safe with that. It's a Category 1 stealth. It's currently a Category 1. Sustained winds at 75. Palm Bay, though, could see wind gusts upwards of 70 to 80, realistically. So, again, anywhere on the north side of wherever this makes landfall is going to be the worst area. If you're in West Palm Beach, and if it makes landfall, let's just say right here, over in areas just north of Port St. Lucie, I'm going to be honest with you. I think the highest wind gusts out of this entire thing will be up here on the north side. Let's go back over to here. They will be on the north side, though. This will be where the highest wind gusts are. It's going to be right there near the eye, so on the sides of it even, so kind of in here. And it will also be right there off to the north. I mean, that's where the highest wind gusts will be. They will not be, West Palm Beach might be like 30 miles per hour in comparison to like Daytona Beach way off to the north. That could be upwards of, 60 to 70 miles per hour. I mean, it's going to be a pretty big difference because, again, the wind is for the most part in Nicole on either the west or east side of it or off to the north. So where we're going to probably see the highest wind gusts out of this will again be up here to the north for areas like Palm Bay and whatnot. If we go over to the wind gusts that's being estimated for the rest of tonight, let's go over to the HRR model. This gives you a really good indication of where you'll see your highest wind gusts. Let me do the latest radar run here. So again, this is the latest run on the computer model. It gives you at least an estimate of what you can expect. So by 10 o'clock, I don't know if Palm Bay will be up to 70 by then, but we'll probably see an estimate maybe further south, a bit higher than that. Port St. Lucie by about 10 o'clock tonight, probably gonna be upwards of 55 to 65. Palm Bay probably gonna be between about 50 to 60. By about 11 to 12 o'clock tonight, though, wind gusts will still really ramp up by then. 60 to 70 miles per hour is possible. Wherever this makes landfall, really where that makes landfall, possibly could get upwards of 90 to 95. But that's on the immediate coastline. But if you're further inland, you'll be probably closer about 65 to about 75. Isolated 80 mile per hour wind gusts is not out of the question. By 1 to 2 a.m. it makes landfall. Again, it's most likely going to make landfall either near Port St. Lucie or Vero Beach. That's kind of my expectation again here overnight tonight. And then again, wind gusts are still much higher. If we go down to Miami, which is about the same, is actually a bit closer than Daytona Beach. Daytona Beach will be much higher in terms of wind speeds because again, the wind is coming out of the east. And so there's not really much to block it in comparison to down here in Miami. It's coming out of the southwest. So the winds will definitely be much higher on the northern side of this hurricane as it makes landfall. By 3 a.m., wind gusts still possibly as high as 70 to 80 near Palm Bay. Daytona Beach even still around 50 to 60. Orlando is starting to get up there near 50 to 60 miles per hour as well. Eventually by 5 to 6 a.m., we're still talking about high wind gusts. I don't know if they will still be exceeding 65 by 7 to 8 in the morning in some areas. I do feel like it's a little bit of an overestimate here in Central Florida, but it's not impossible to see wind gusts like Orlando near 60 to 70 maybe for a little brief amount of time. But eventually by about 10 to 11 o'clock, this will start to move off into the Gulf of Mexico. It will weaken in the Gulf of Mexico, by the way, so it's not going to really maintain its strength. Again, cooler waters in the Gulf of Mexico now will really lead to this not really strengthening, if not probably just weakening or maintaining some of its strength as it moves into a secondary landfall back up near Tallahassee or just east of Panama City. So again, landfall, the secondary landfall tomorrow afternoon and evening will probably be in this area. If not, it might even just stay a little bit further east, and it might actually go kind of more like this. So it might not even go into the Gulf of Mexico, but either way, still going to be something to be monitoring. Again, storm surge upwards of 5 feet is going to be possible as well. This is the storm surge forecast for those over on the west coast and east coast of Florida. So up to 5 feet is possible along the east coast, which you're already witnessing right now on the east coast. We're at high tide right now. Back over on the west coast in the Panhandle, as well as back through areas like Tampa Bay, still going to have that potential for upwards of 1 to 5 feet of storm surge. So be prepared. Again, if you're even on the west coast, you have a potential for storm surge, even though it's not making a direct landfall there, at least initially. Secondary landfall, again, is probably going to be projected to go into that area anyways. But again, storm surge could get upwards of 5 feet. St. John's River up to 5 feet of storm surge as well as expected there. So that river probably will start to increase in terms of its flood stage. And I'm actually curious real quick. I'm going to look at the flood stage on the St. John's River. I'm not sure if it has changed at all here recently. I'll take a quick look at that. And so no, as of right now, again, St. John's River is still in a minor flood stage. It's not far though away from being a moderate flood stage right now, but I would anticipate that that kind of changes here in the overnight hours. So definitely something to be mindful of here pretty soon. All right, let's go back over to Twitter real quick. I'm gonna see if there's any other updates on Twitter. I will also show you real quick a couple of my other photos from earlier today, if I can show those real quick. I do appreciate everybody retweeting and liking my tweets on Twitter, by the way, today. I really do appreciate it. I posted a lot of content on there. I was storm chasing earlier today off stream. So if you want to check that out and you want to check out all my clips and all that and all my photos and videos that I got out there in the area where it's going to make landfall, check out my Twitter page. Again, make sure to follow and like those tweets. I would appreciate it. I was literally out there in the field today over in Jensen Beach. There was a lot of high water already beginning, really, especially along the coastline. So it is quite remarkable what we saw there. Hey, Connie, how you doing? Welcome back. There was actually, it's interesting. I've never really done a storm chase before. This was actually probably my first ever one, like legitimately storm chasing. And I had a few people on Facebook say like, take it safe out there. I'm worried for you, but I know what to do. I was perfectly fine out there. And yeah, it was good getting out there, seeing what was happening in real time. Obviously, for those that have never been storm chasing before, it is completely different from just looking at a video cam. It is really real. Obviously, if you're looking at something like in person, like I'll show you real quick. I have a lot of videos from today, but this was let me see if I can find one of them here. I have a few good ones, but there's some that just show you the actual impact of what's happening out there. I mean, there's like some videos that you'll see that actually show you the impact. I have a good one. I'm trying to find it though. I have a lot of videos on here. I'm trying to find the right one though. Please. Again, I'll be posting a lot of these on YouTube as well, so you'll be able to see those as well. But this is a kind of one of the real ones that I saw earlier today, and I felt like this was a little bit more intentional, that there's a boat there, again, potentially for insurance money. But on the other hand, we're still looking at high waves here. It is much more real if we go a bit further off here to the right. Waves are really choppy out there, and this was really splashing along the intercoastal region. Again, this isn't even the beach. This is the intercoastal region where we had all these waves just crashing along. It was really extreme. Even when I went back out there about 4:30 today, it was really extreme there in the Jensen Beach intercoastal area. So yeah, it was, again, remarkable what the site was out there in the Jensen Beach area. And again, this is another video. I don't actually think I showed you guys this one yet. This was another video though of the waves. Again, this was right at the beach, right at Jensen Beach. This is basically, I mean, if you just go to where I am in terms of the camera angle, this is exactly where I'm standing, the top of the beach. If you go any further down, that is obviously going to be the beach. And then if you go any further back, that's where the parking lot is basically, and it goes down slope from there. So the water was very close to already going over. I'm not sure if I panned out to the extent. I think I might have at the end of this. I can't remember though. There was some pretty big waves. I mean, these waves don't serve a justice, but we had a couple right after the fact, and this is a good pan out. There you go. So this is what it looked like. Water, again, this is low tide, by the way. So obviously low tide is typically way out here somewhere. It was nowhere near there. Again, the tide was up to here at low tide, which is pretty remarkable. And again, this water was already rushing up after the fact when we were just leaving at about 4:45-ish, which again was just after low tide, excuse me. So yeah, again, it's pretty crazy what we saw out there again earlier today in, again, Jensen Beach. So again, the waves don't serve a justice here initially. They break a lot more at the beginning, but there was some very high waves out in the distance. I wish I could have held my camera up like 20 feet to show you what was out there in the distance, but yeah, pretty crazy stuff. It was, again, really interesting for my first ever little storm chase, to say the least. Crazy stuff. All right, let's go back over to here real quick and go back over to live chat. All right, if you have any questions, by the way, feel free to leave them in the chat. I'll be getting to some of those here. Beaches, yeah, honestly, there's gonna be a lot of beach erosion with this too. I don't think tomorrow will be safe to be able to go look at the beach, but if I have that opportunity, I might. But yeah, we'll see what happens tomorrow. Actually, I'm gonna see what the low tide is tomorrow for this area. I am curious to see when that low tide is tomorrow, because I'll try to go around then if I can. Yeah, my attention. Yeah, so it's about, low tide is approximately around 5:07 p.m. So yeah, I'll probably go out in the afternoon. I'll do a storm chasing stream. So the plan is tomorrow to do a storm chasing stream, most likely doing some aftermath in the Jensen Beach area, and it'll probably be around 5 o'clock. We'll see what roads are closed off too, because there might be a lot of roads closed off. We'll see what happens. That's the plan. Is the plan, Stan? All right. Yeah, it's honestly, the hurricane itself is, it seems like it's, you know, a lot of people have been kind of saying this. It doesn't seem to be that big of a hurricane. It seems to be kind of, you know, minimal. But this is, I mean, this is no joke. I mean, we're still talking about a Category 1 hurricane. The effects that's going to have, especially on the coastal regions, will be pretty substantial. Again, Port St. Lucie, West Palm Beach, Palm Bay, there's going to be a lot of beach erosion. Vero Beach is well known for that sort of thing with beach erosion and whatnot. Right along the coast there, we see a lot of erosion there. So this is definitely not something to be really, you know, joking about. Obviously, I know a lot of people do, but this is a pretty serious you know, hurricane. I know it's only a Category 1, but it's still pretty serious. Even regardless, it's still gonna make a lot of impacts along the coastal region. And I know the videos that I showed probably don't serve a justice of what we're really gonna see, because that was, again, at low tide. You know, if we went to high tide, it would have been much crazier. But high tide, I think, is like around now, so it's like pitch black out there, so it's a bit harder to even see what's going on out there, unless I had the proper lighting, which unfortunately I forgot my one light that I needed to be able to do that. But yeah, it's definitely very dangerous what we're gonna be probably seeing here over the next little while. Hey Ro, how you doing? I do not know, Jelly. I don't think so. I don't think there's a warning. Virginia Beach, I don't even think, yeah, you're not even under any of the tropical warnings either. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't hear of any warnings though earlier. Granted, I was out storm chasing, so I don't know. I can tell you. But I was out there storm chasing for a good 5 to 6 hours. And actually, surprisingly enough, I think I only used like 2, maybe 2.5 gallons of gas. That's pretty impressive. Maybe 3. I can't remember. It wasn't too bad though. So, gas-wise, Wasn't horrible. Could have been a lot worse. Wind is really kicking up in Port St. Lucie. Yeah, again, wind gusts are going to be peaking there around, I think, about 70 miles per hour within the next coming hours. Again, the inner bands are starting to reach areas like Port St. Lucie, West Palm Beach, and whatnot. So, actually, if we pause the radar real quick, this is right now. So, yeah, we have actually some heavier bands of rain now moving in. The higher winds are going to be moving in probably within the next hour or two. Let's go over to the high-def radar again. And let's look at the reflectivity. I'll try to look at the velocities as well here in just a moment. Yeah, roof damage is definitely going to be possible with this for sure. Damage is definitely going to be possible. Shingles more than anything, but we could even see, a couple of roofs kind of, fail or whatever. This is the rain right now, by the way. A lot of heavier bands of rain across areas like Hope Sound, Palm City, Port St. Lucie, back through Vero Beach. A lot of heavier bands of rain all moving to the southwest. Let's go over to the velocities real quick. Again, this is kind of giving us an indication of what, if there's any of these storms either rotating or producing even some of the high winds. I don't think there's any lightning with this, but we at least can get a general idea. I think this is a huge overestimate. Yeah, it's definitely not 90 miles per hour, but let's go over to I think it's maybe overestimating here, but you get the general idea. I don't see a whole lot of rotation with any of these in terms of maybe a tornado threat, but it does seem to be more of just a wind threat right now with these cells that are moving inland. The only tornado threat that I expect, again, will probably be on the northern side of Nicole, which is still out to sea. Again, the eye is currently centered near the Bahamas, just northwest of there. It's still about a good 60 to 80 miles away from where it'll make landfall, which is probably going to be Port St. Lucie or Vero Beach. So... but yeah, any of the cells on the northern side will probably have a tornado potential maybe overnight tonight. That's still a few hours from now, honestly. So that's what we'll at least be expecting at this point. Wind gust, by the way, near the coastline, back near Merritt Island and Satellite Beach, is near 50 miles per hour. So the winds are a little bit higher up that direction right now. So just keep that in mind up that way. Winds are definitely a little bit higher over there. This is a 6-hour loop, but I did not mean to do that on this. Let's go back over to here. I have our other radar updated here, so that will give us an idea. Yeah, again, the heaviest rain bands right now inland. So right now, the other heavier rain bands are still out to sea. This is our other secondary area of heavy rain. They'll be crashing into Palm Bay, maybe even as far south as Port St. Lucie. So kind of in between that little stretch there by 95 and the Turnpike, or just, I don't even know where the Turnpike is, honestly. It's somewhere over here. But yeah, that'll be the area we'll probably still start to see some more of the heavier rain bands as well. I know traffic out there is not too bad either. Obviously, a lot of schools are canceled today and tomorrow across a large area of Florida, really along the East Coast. So the traffic is not too bad out there. So I wouldn't expect that many cars out there on the roadways unless it's like urgent sort of stuff, or any storm chasers out there as well. So it's kind of what we're looking at there anyways as of now. Again, if you're just tuning in for the first time, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Again, we'll keep you posted with the latest on Hurricane Nicole and anything else that comes towards Florida or anywhere else in the United States. Also, make sure to hit the like button. It's free to do, and I would appreciate it. Helps the stream out a lot. And let's get to some chat questions here. A new one gets issued for state of emergency. Always has a new one. This sort of stuff. And this is a completely separate hurricane. Just damage in Volusia County. Hey, does anybody have any of the photos? I know there's a few photos out of Volusia County. If anybody does have any of those photos or videos back up near Daytona Beach, feel free to tweet me on Twitter, either at me on any of those photos. I'm curious to see what's going on up there. If you have any of those, feel free to let me know. Again, Twitter is linked down in the description below, but I know there's been a lot of crazy stuff up there too. There was damage yesterday morning to the coastal area there. There was already beach erosion yesterday morning, and water was already beginning to come a little bit further inland there. So it was already getting rough yesterday. I can only imagine what it's going to be today. And obviously the lunar eclipse just happened 2 days ago. We had a full moon literally, or actually I think it was literally like within the last 48 hours. So the impacts that Nicole's going to bring is going to be a bit higher just due to the fact of the full moon. So yeah, it's again really remarkable what Nicole's going to do. It's again very underrated, I'd say, in terms of what people have been kind of saying about it. I've been kind of mentioning it, like this is going to be a little bit worse than some people think, because again, storm surge could get up upwards of 5 feet, which is still very significant, especially to the coastal regions. Again, coastal regions will be heavily impacted for sure with this. Yeah, that's really the biggest concern. Rain is not as big of a concern, but since Ian just happened recently, with all the rain that we saw from Ian, there's still a lot of places with flood stages like St. John's River, so that's a bigger concern as well. Wind gusts could get upwards, again, maybe 60, 70, 80 miles per hour as well, right along the east coast of Florida. So a lot of big concerns there as well. So yeah, a lot of crazy stuff for sure. I just got a message. Thank you, Proxima, for the $45 super chat. Hey, I appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much. That's very generous of you. Thank you. Helps out the page a lot. Let's get some claps in the chat, by the way, for Proxima. Appreciate that. Very generous donation. I appreciate you tuning in. All right, let's go back over to Twitter real quick. I'm going to see if we have any photos or anything like that coming in on there. Again, I know there's a lot of people out there watching this hurricane, so. Somebody, I don't know if I can show this. Let me see real quick. Somebody literally decided to get a bunch of eggs. Oh, wait, this is actually a store. Never mind. So somebody put a tweet out on Twitter about how they were getting a bunch of eggs for this hurricane. I guess that's an essential. I don't know if you can really cook them, but it's interesting. Oh Lord. There is a this is some of the sights that we're seeing out in Florida tonight ahead of Hurricane Nicole. Yep, that's right. People are standing out there like Jim Cantori out there in Florida. I don't even know where that is, but somewhere on the east coast of Florida. Oh Lord. Welcome to Florida. Honestly, I don't know if I've seen anything really crazier than that. I mean, I was out there today. Again, I was literally out there, you know, when everything was happening. Again, over in Jensen Beach, I was literally out there storm chasing earlier today, and I don't know if I really saw anything too crazy. The craziest things I saw, I would say, was a person standing out way on the end of a pier, fishing. That was one of the biggest things, and the pier was already starting to flood a little bit on the very beginning of it, so getting back over there is kind of difficult. I also saw somebody fishing on the top of a bridge, leaning over, really a lot. I mean, there was some really crazy stuff I saw today out there. I mean, again, it's Florida. You never know. Things are interesting out here. Yeah, I wasn't live doing that. I wish I was live. There was some pretty interesting stuff to point out there. Yeah, again, for those that are curious, long-term with this hurricane, again, it's going to probably enter back into the Gulf of Mexico. So again, this will probably go into the Gulf. However, the Gulf waters are between 77 to 79 degrees. Sea temperatures are below 80. Therefore, intensification over the Gulf of Mexico is very unlikely, which it's not expected. It's actually expected to weaken more as it moves over those waters. So just a little heads up there on that sort of stuff. I know some people have been asking about that. I sure am, Andrea. I sure am. I was chasing out here today. Again, if you want to check out some of those tweets and stuff, go over my Twitter page. It has all that sort of stuff. Again, I have a lot of videos just reporting in the field and whatnot today. Again, I put a lot of effort into those because the wind was whipping. So if you want to check those out, again, I'll put my Twitter in the chat again. While you're over there, make sure to follow as well if you want to check those clips out. There was, again, some crazy stuff today that we saw. Again, I would say the craziest thing that we've seen all day today was, again, the boat. Let me see if I can bring that back up. This was easily the craziest thing, though, if I can get a good clip of it. I have a few duplicate clips here. One second. Yeah, I would say the boat was probably the biggest the biggest thing. Actually, I have on Twitter. I'm just going to go from Twitter here because that has all the good clips here. So, all right, right here. So this is the one over on the boat. I was doing a live report on this. The audio is kind of bad because, again, the wind was so high. But, again, this is a boat right on the coast. Again, in the intercoastal, Jensen Beach area. So intercoastal area. Again, there's a boat literally hugged up against this concrete wall. And, again, I mean, it's tied to this wooden structure. I don't think it'll be there tomorrow. This was at low tide. You can only imagine how bad this will be at high tide, which high tide's right about now. So we'll find out tomorrow again. If we'll find out again tomorrow. I'm gonna be probably out there doing some aftermath, a little aftermath stream, so we'll check it out and see if that boat's still there, if it's safe enough to go over there. But yeah, I mean, I was doing a live report there. But yeah, again, we actually, when we drove up, by the way, just beyond this boat, there was like a little thing here. I don't even know what it was. It was like maybe a little parking spot that was kind of destroyed already. There was debris from the boat literally sitting there. Like there was a seat cushion. There was a bunch of random stuff. I wish I took pictures of it. Yeah, again, it was wacky. Actually, this will give you, this actually might do it. So this is a video clip here. That's the boat right here. Right here's like some of the debris. I'm not sure what this is. It looks kind of like a door, maybe. Right there. That's a little bit of debris, though, that we passed by. And then closer over here, there was a seat cushion when we came around the second time. There was also some other sort of thing from the boat that was also here. Another little debris thing there from that boat. So yeah, again, this boat has suffered some pretty, oh, there's the seat cushion right here. That is your seat cushion from that boat right here. So there you go. Again, that was the boat that right there along the intercoastal region of Jensen Beach. I can't remember if this was at I think this was the clip that I can't remember if it was 1 or 4 o'clock, but either way, that is some of the debris that we saw from that boat. So again, we'll give you an update on the boat tomorrow. I think that's the biggest topic of discussion right now for the stuff that I saw today is the boat. I believe that's called the ocean. Yes, it is. It's the intercoastal region of Jensen Beach. So if we zoom in a little bit here, I don't even know where Jensen Beach is on this map. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, it's over here. So this is where I think I was. I think there's a bridge right here, potentially. And I'm not sure if it was that one or something further north. I think it's this one though. There's like a bridge right here. So I was basically on this underpass here. And so this is the intercoastal area. All the water was pushing north to south. And then when I went to the beach later on the day, so closer to the 4 to 5 o'clock range, I was somewhere over here somewhere. I can't remember where I was. It was along A1A somewhere over here. But I was also over there. And that was where we saw the water really high there along the beach. So there was already roads being flooded over. Reports of that was already ongoing near Sewell's Point. I don't know if I'm saying the name right. But there was also some flooding already beginning over those roads. So we couldn't go that far south. But yeah. It was pretty crazy. Again, it was a very interesting experience what we saw out there today. Definitely something to really probably do again at some point if we ever have another one of these tropical storms or hurricanes come our way. But yeah, I will probably do a stream in the future. If I ever do this again, I will probably do a live stream of it. The only problem was this time around, I didn't know if I would have good cell reception. I don't even know if I did today. I'm not gonna lie, but we'll try it possibly tomorrow for an aftermath stream, tomorrow afternoon or evening. And we'll see. But yeah, honestly, I think more than anything, I think I was just kind of more concerned more than anything about the quality and stuff, but we'll try it tomorrow. Today, I just did it off stream, so yeah. Thank you, Andrea, for the $10 super sticker. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. Appreciate all the support tonight. Vince was out there earlier, was he? Was he on that pier? I didn't see any storm chasers that I knew of. Actually, I did run into a family that was like, "Are you doing some live reporting here?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." Like, we can join in if you want. That was at the 1 p.m. hour. That was pretty funny. Actually, recently I ran into somebody at a McDonald's and they recognized me. I don't know if you're watching and you're from McDonald's and you watched me before. Let me know in the chat. But apparently, the McDonald's drive-through worker recognized me from max velocity. I'm like, oh wow, that's pretty crazy. First time I've ever been publicly recognized. So honestly, I wish I was live streaming. It would have been pretty cool. But yeah, we'll do it next time. Trust me. I enjoyed doing it though. It was a good time. Obviously, not seeing everything happening, but it was definitely an experience that I will definitely do again. Thanks, Andre. I appreciate it. No, don't thank me. I appreciate your support. Polk County, Rob. Let me figure out where that county is first. I'm familiar with it, but I don't remember the exact location. That's over by Winter Haven. I don't know if you'll get hurricane force winds. If we go back over to this graphic again, this is back over to here and then here. I don't think we'll get hurricane force winds there. You might get potentially wind gusts exceeding 60 to 70 possibly, but this is the forecast again over tonight. So by 11 to 12 o'clock tonight, wind gusts will really peak across the coastline. So areas like Palm Bay, Port St. Lucie, still gonna be upwards of 60 to 70. Along the beaches, they will be probably closer to 80 miles per hour, maybe even upwards of 90 near the eye of where this makes landfall. By 2 a.m., it's most likely gonna make landfall near Port St. Lucie or Vero Beach. Those are the two areas that I kind of have in mind for a landfall. By 3 to 4 in the morning, it will move off to the west-northwest. Again, Palm Bay gonna see wind gusts still upwards of 60 to 70 overnight tonight. And then by tomorrow morning, by 7 to 8 o'clock, winds will start to die down in Polk County specifically. They possibly could get upwards of 60 to 65. So not out of the question that we could see some maybe isolated to scattered power outages. Speaking of power outages, I've actually not shown you yet the power outages so far. Let me pull that up real quick, because I feel like the power outages will be kind of important here. Power outage map here. Let's go over to that first. Actually, it's interesting that we're not really seeing that many power outages so far, which is actually really good news. There's a lot of power crews in Florida right now. let's go over to that real quick. This is the map. I think I can zoom into this. So power outages across the state, 7,900. That's not bad, by the way, according to poweroutage.us. Indian River County has the most power outages with 820. St. Lucie County, 887. Those have increased a little bit. Martin County, 170. Palm Beach County, 960. Broward County, 770. And as well as Brevard County, 830. I would assume a lot of those are right on the beach, though. I honestly, I think a lot of the power outages that we're seeing are right along the beaches of Florida. That's probably where we're seeing most of right now the action in terms of the overall essence of what we're seeing in terms of power outages. Like, they're probably right now on the beaches. Again, wind gusts will start to really increase over the next hour or two on these inland areas, so we could potentially start to see more of those scattered power outages really arise. So definitely something to be mindful of here as this continues to approach Florida. Thank you, BT, by the way, for the 5 gifted memberships. I appreciate that a lot, BT. Thank you very much. Appreciate your support. Appreciate everybody's support tonight, by the way. A lot of super chats, and I appreciate the gifted members. Thank you. Anybody that got a gifted membership, by the way, make sure to thank BT. Appreciate that a lot. How's everybody doing tonight, by the way? How many of you guys are in Florida? I'm curious. How many people are bracing these the hurricane that are in Florida? Curious. Real quick, I need to check Twitter. I'm gonna see if we have any other photos coming in from this hurricane right now. And the most interesting one that we just saw was a person standing outside with, holding a flag like hurricane's coming. I don't know if I can pull that one back up, but winds are really picking up, by the way. According to Dylan out of Jensen Beach, pressure is now down to 999 millibars in Jensen Beach. Wind is really picking up now, approaching hurricane force winds. So just a little heads up there out of Jensen Beach. So latest there is that we're starting to see hurricane force winds there right along the beach region. Again, Jensen Beach is located just east of Port St. Lucie, right here along the beaches. If we pause this radar real quick, let me pause it here. Again, that's right about there. And here's the eye. It's right here. That's where Nicole is. Again, it's moving, probably going to make landfall near Vero Beach or Port St. Lucie. I think it might go a little bit further. It's probably going to be, I would say it's going to be probably in between the two there. But again, that's right now where it's at. The current length from where it's at right now in terms of how long it has until landfall, it's still a good-ish 80 miles or so away from landfall. If we go from the very edge of this, though, it's probably closer to about 55 to 60 miles. So it's still not too far away from landfall. Actually, I do think this might be overestimating. Yeah, so it's actually, sorry, subtract 10 from that. It's about 50 miles away from the inner eye making landfall, and eventually the actual eye will probably make landfall here sometime within the next, again, probably 4 hours or so. So winds will really ramp up here over the next couple of hours. That's really, again, the expectation at this point here in Florida. At what time will it hit land? Probably around 2 to 3 a.m. I will probably not be live that late because I think I'll lose power by then. But if I'm still live, then I will be covering landfall most likely. But we'll see. Depends if I, again, have power. I don't know if I'll lose it or not. It's a question mark at this point. Impact the West Coast? Florida, you mean? I thought you were meaning the West Coast of the United States for some reason. West Coast of Florida will have impacts beginning tomorrow in the late morning. If you're in like obviously a city or something like that, you'll have winds pick up overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. So tropical storm force winds already ongoing. Winds could start getting closer to maybe even 50 to 60 miles per hour in terms of gusts by tomorrow morning near areas like Tampa, Haines City, Spring Hill. All those areas could start seeing wind gusts increase upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour by tomorrow morning. So it's definitely a possibility there along the West Coast, especially going into tomorrow morning. Could even include areas like Orlando, Florida too. Even the theme parks region could start seeing those impacts as well. Again, this is the crazy person that I showed before, but I want to show it again. This is a person again over in Florida. I don't know what the exact location is, but they're bracing the hurricane right now. They are prepared, obviously, as you can probably tell. But again, that is pretty miraculous. Somebody actually, I just saw an article on Twitter that somebody wrote about this hurricane. And funny enough, they actually took a picture of that boat that I've been showing so many times in that Jensen Beach Inlet or whatever it's called, the intercoastal area. That boat that was crashed up against the shore that I've shown a bunch of times here. Somebody literally has an article with that same exact boat. Again, this is the boat, though, that I've been talking about here. It's this boat that's crashed right against the coastline. It has suffered extreme damage already. I don't think it's there anymore, but we'll have to wait and see. It is tied down to this little wooden structure back here. There's rope right here, or no, not right there. That's back further. So right here, that's where the rope is to this boat. I don't think that boat's going to stay there much longer. Again, this is at low tide. Imagine high tide, it's going to be much higher. This water was like really close to being over land here. And we could see, again, some debris here on the coastal area. So again, a seat cushion somewhere. I don't know if this is a seat cushion to that boat. It's right there. So yeah, again, I don't know what the thinking was of putting the boat there, but again, it's probably for insurance money, but who knows. And Florida man is currently out there with his flag, just holding it up with Hurricane Nicole coming towards the coastline. Average Florida citizen during a hurricane. That's pretty much what it is. How bad will Jacksonville get? Jacksonville's probably going to see wind gusts peaking at 50 to 60 miles per hour. Storm surge is probably the biggest concern up there. Rain is not going to be that big of a concern. You could get rainfall totals maybe up to 3 inches, maybe 4 at the most. It's not going to be anything in comparison, though, to what we saw with Ian last month. So, yeah, again, this is nothing in comparison to Ian when it comes to at least the rain. Rain is not going to get that close. So if we go back over to here, again, I have a lot of graphics on the other end. So let's go over to here, back to the forecast graphics. Rainfall totals are not going to be that significant. Again, Ian brought like 24 inches of rain near Daytona Beach. That's nothing this time around in terms of Nicole. It's going to be between about 2 to 6 inches. It is something to still take seriously, though, because this will bring still flooding potential with a lot of these rivers and as well as these lakes that are still in flood stage. We could easily see these still get to that, you know, they could potentially get to major flood stage even with this amount of rain. So keep that in mind. Again, it's not, you know, it's not like all roses and rainbows when it comes to rain. It's really something to keep in mind still, because we could see rain really start to accumulate and we could see these lakes start to even overflow. So we have to watch that very closely, especially for the St. Johns River, which is already in a minor flood stage, and that's prior to this even happening. Any of the rain that we've already seen. More rain will happen most likely tomorrow out of this, but yeah, tomorrow will be a bigger day. This is the HRR model in terms of rain accumulation, which will give you more specific details on that. And I feel like this is a bit more accurate, maybe 3 to 5 inches down in eastern portions of Florida, southeast Florida, closer to West Palm Beach through Palm Bay. Orlando, maybe between 3 to 5. Daytona Beach, 2 to 4. Jacksonville, maybe between 1 to 3. Gainesville, about 1 to 4, 2 to 4, somewhere in that range. Tallahassee, maybe 2 to 4 as well. Again, Tallahassee will have that secondary landfall with Nicole. It will be a weak tropical storm, most likely upon landfall back up in the Panhandle. And so that's what we're expecting again in terms of the overall rainfall out of this system, at least over the next 24 to 36 hours, maybe even over the next 48 hours. There might be a couple of showers still remaining Friday morning, but again, this is the wind gusts that are expected over the next few hours. We are currently at the 10 o'clock hour, by the way, so again, we're at 10 o'clock, just keep that in mind. This is the latest model run that is indicating at 11 o'clock, wind gusts will be peaking between about 50 to 70 miles per hour. West Palm Beach on the lower end there, and then Palm Bay potentially upwards of 60 to 70 miles per hour. Port St. Lucie between 60 to 70 miles per hour as well. Jensen Beach is already near hurricane force winds right on the coast. So again, if you're right on the beaches, that is where the highest winds are right now. Inland by about 10 to 15 miles, it's much less, again, due to the fact that there's nothing blocking the wind along the beaches. I was there earlier today. Winds were gusting at 60 to 65, but if you go a few miles inland to a METAR station, they were estimated at like 35, 45 miles per hour. So it was nothing in comparison to what we saw at the beaches earlier today. But again, 1 to 2 in the morning, wind gusts will really start peaking for Palm Bay, for example, near 70 to 80 miles per hour. Daytona Beach could even get upwards of 60 to 70. Again, because of that westerly or easterly wind coming inland, the winds will be much stronger up this direction. And then when the winds come out here of the southwest, winds will be much lesser back down in Miami and West Palm Beach. So that's kind of the thinking at this point in terms of the wind gusts for tonight. Again, we do have a potential for storm surge tonight, so up to 3 to 5 feet is possible across a large area of Florida. Again, it's really not just Florida. It's not just the east coast of Florida. We also have that potential on the west coast of Florida. We even have that potential through the east coast of Georgia, and we also have that potential through South Carolina and North Carolina, near Salt City, North Carolina, and eventually back down here through the Alta Maha Sound, if I'm saying the name right. Again, potential for upwards of 1 to 4 feet of storm surge in this stretch, and then back down here in Florida, again, 3 to 5 5 feet is definitely a big concern, which we're already seeing that today out here in Florida. So that'll be a big concern here over the next little while in terms of the storm surge. Again, that is probably the most significant threat that we're going to see, especially again to the coastal regions. We saw a lot of that already beginning today. Low tide looked like a very high tide today, so we're going to see a lot more of that storm surge ramp up here within the next hour or two. Obviously, it's really been ramping up throughout the afternoon and evening, but with low tide being around 4:30 today, high tide is near like 10:30 to 11 tonight, and that's within the next 30 to 45 minutes. So water will be getting really high here on the east coast of Florida here pretty soon. So you're gonna have to really be mindful of that. Why is that beach so popular? I don't know if it's popular. I just went there. Justin, Southwest Florida won't be too bad. If you're like south of Cape Coral, other than storm surge right along the coastline, I don't expect major impacts. Might have a couple of showers, but I'm not expecting anything too crazy there. Wind gusts should be pretty much just around low-end tropical storm force wind gusts. So that's the, again, expectation at this point down that direction. Hey, thanks, Neil. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, let me see if I missed any other questions up here. Thank you, by the way, Laureen, as well as Tracy, for becoming subscribers. I appreciate it. Thank you. If you're not already, by the way, and you're new here, hit the subscribe button down below. Again, we will be doing live coverage here of Nicole as long as I can until I lose power. Also, make sure you hit the like button down below. It helps this stream get out to more people that need it. So make sure to hit the like button down below. Hey, have a great night, by the way, Virginia. I don't know if you're still here. Have a good night. All right, I don't see any other questions up there. Sarasota and Tampa Bay won't be too bad. Again, that will be more of a storm surge thing, maybe between 1 to 4 feet of storm surge in that Tampa Bay area. Other than storm surge, it's going to be potential for wind gusts upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour. Can't rule out some heavy rain as well, but I would expect really the main concern, maybe wind gusts up to 60 to 70 at the peak, and then more than anything, storm surge right along the coastline. Those are the biggest two concerns right now. Ethan, I hope so too. I haven't had an issue with it yet, but we'll see what happens. Hey, thank you, Proxima, for becoming a Hurricane Chaser member. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. Let's get some claps in the chat for Proxima becoming a Hurricane Chaser. Thank you. I'll see if I have any other Twitter stuff coming in here. We have a report, by the way, coming out of Melbourne, Florida. Winds are currently around 40 to 45 miles per hour. Gusts are currently being estimated by a viewer there around 60 miles per hour. Again, that's in Jensen Beach. Or excuse me, not Jensen Beach. Over in Melbourne, Florida. I keep saying Jensen. But the winds are gusting there right now. And yeah, actually, I can show you the video real quick if you guys are curious. It's out of Jensen Beach. This is the tree swaying, by the way. It's actually, let's go back to that. You can see the palm tree swaying there pretty substantially. And actually, I don't have my audio on here. There we go. You can hear the wind. Wind is really picking up on those. Obviously, you can see the trees a little bit above the ground level there. Wind is really picking up though there over in the Melbourne area, which Melbourne, by the way, is way back up here. I think it's back over near Titusville, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it's further south. I can't remember. Near Palm Bay, maybe. Satellite Beach, kind of this area, I think, is where Melbourne is. So, again, that's a bit further north than where we're seeing a lot of the winds. The winds that are being estimated by the METAR stations, the highest wind gust that we have right now is 47 miles per hour, and that's, again, a bit further inland near Vero Beach. And if you're right on the coastline, it's upwards of 60 to 70, so it's a completely different story right there along the coastline of Florida. Again, on the beaches, it's a lot higher than a little bit further inland. Let's see if we have any other stuff coming in here on here. I'm not seeing anything new. Keep you posted though. That was the latest though out of that. Hey, thank you, Justin, for the 199. I appreciate that. I appreciate your support. Thank you. I appreciate Proxima. Thanks. Watching you in the Reed Timmer tonight. Unfortunately, I did not see Reed Timmer today. I don't know where he's at today, but I was hoping to. I don't know where he was going to be today to begin with, but yeah, I didn't see any storm chasers out there, at least that I was aware of. I've kind of saw a couple of like freelancers and stuff like that. But yeah, that's about it. Saw a few freelancers kind of taking photos and stuff like that. It wasn't anything crazy, but that's really the only thing I witnessed out there. I didn't see any storm chasers, you know, that would, you know, had like decorated cars or anything like that. I mean, it was pretty. If there was any storm chasers out there, they were definitely kind of hidden to me. But yeah, again, that's kind of one of those things though. Like, who knows? Let's see. I have a video here to show you maybe. Oh, so this is kind of earlier today. Nothing too crazy to kind of see here. Let me see if I can put this on another tab. I don't know if I can. We'll just do it from here. This is a video from earlier. This was actually when we were driving earlier. There was police actually redirecting traffic. There was a closed road here. I think this was A1A here. So this is when we were done with Jensen Beach. So yeah, there was a road closed there. So yeah, just kind of something to keep in mind there. So yeah. Again, there was roads closing. There was a lot of roads closing, actually. In fact, at the 4:30 time frame, that was at about 1:30ish. So there was a road, excuse me, that closed pretty early. At the 4:30 time frame, when we went out the second time, there was much more road closures than the initial time frame. So just kind of a little heads up there. Again, a lot of roads closed there along the beaches. There's obviously almost probably every road here along the coastline is probably closed at this point. A lot of them, I would assume, are. A lot of the bridges are closed as well. So again, pretty big heads up there that there's going to be a lot of road closures if you're out there right now. So heads up there. All right, let me go see if there's anything else on Twitter here that I've missed. I don't think I've missed anything else on here. Yep, looks good for now. All right, cool. Let's back over to here. Thank you, BT, for another 5 gifted memberships. I appreciate that a lot, BT. Thank you. Get the support. And Proxima with the 10 gifted memberships. I appreciate your support a lot as well. Thank you very much, guys. I really do appreciate it. And also, if you get any memberships from either of them, make sure I thank them in the chat. That's very generous. Thank you. I'm not trying to get distracted here from the coverage here. Actually, I do have to do something real quick on Facebook. Somebody asked me what's going on here. 1 second. By the way, if you have any questions, feel free to pop those in the chat. I'll try to get to them here in a second. Let's see. Oh, one of my Facebook posts kind of went viral, it looks like, today. I didn't realize that. One of my Facebook posts about temperatures dropping in North Texas. By the way, for those that have not watched my forecast recently, there's a lot of colder weather coming next week. We're talking about, or even like this weekend, temperatures are going to drop across like the entire United States. I don't know if you've not already heard, but like temperatures will be the coldest we've seen all like fall. I mean, it's going to get really cold next week, so. No, Jelly, it will not. No, you're good. Yeah, it's going to get cold next week, and as well as even this weekend. This is also another view of this Nicole right now. This is the shortwave satellite, so I don't know really what this does, but it's a little cool like imagery here. But again, this is where the eye is. It has a cool spin on it. I just like looking at it. This is actually what was in the thumbnail. I thought it kind of looked cool, but again, this is what Nicole looks like. I've never used this before. I don't even know what the purpose of it is, but that is what that is. The infrared imagery, though, is going to show you the cloud top. So let's go over to the infrared imagery. Let's go to the traditional. Yeah. So the infrared imagery gives us an idea of what's going on in terms of convection, how big these storms are, if there are any thunderstorms. And actually, interestingly enough, this is actually kind of interesting. An interesting development in the last hour. We have a bit of a convection blow up here back over east of Port St. Lucie. So keep that in mind. If you're over east of Port St. Lucie, a lot more convection, it looks like, kind of building up here. That's going to probably move towards the west and southwest. Probably going to impact areas like Port St. Lucie, Jensen Beach, Stewart. All those areas are going to probably be impacted by some of that convection that's now bubbling up. I'm not sure if I can compare that to the radar imagery, but that is, it looks like a little bit of convection blown up there. Back off to the north, we have a lot more convection here. This is where a tornado threat may lie tonight, would be out of some of these deeper convections that we're seeing. So some of these oranges and reds that we're seeing back over, again, east of Florida right now, those will eventually move inland, and that'll pose the potential again for maybe an isolated tornado threat overnight tonight. But another little interesting look at this right now. I'm not sure if we can see anything else here on this. I'll see if I can pull up. Actually, we have the water vapor imagery. We can take a look at that. This is the water vapor imagery with the system, which 24 hours ago had a lot more drier air on the back side of this. It's actually become a bit more organized. There's actually a little bit of dry air even inside of where that eye is, which is quite interesting. But a lot of water vapor on the northern side. Again, that's where all the highest winds are right now with Hurricane Nicole, which again, very interesting stuff there. A lot of drier air down to the south of that. And interestingly enough, again, high pressure systems back up here in New England. So that's kind of controlling the path right now of Nicole. And once this jet stream turns back over here to the east, we'll see Nicole go back up to the northeast into areas like New England going into this weekend. I know it's a lot to take in, but if you want more of a slower breakdown on that, you can watch my forecast today, because I had a lot of that stuff in it. But yeah, interesting stuff. Let's go back over to this, though, for the time being. Over to the short wave. By the way, thank you, Jab, for the $5 super chat. I appreciate it. Let's see. Oh, my infrared imagery isn't on here. 1 second. Let's see real quick. Let me turn. All right, there we go. Let's see. 1 block from the beach north of Daytona. I would definitely make sure you evacuate if you've not already. I would definitely recommend. I recommend this to everybody. If there's any evacuation orders in place, or it's recommended, you should, especially if you're along the coastline. So if it's already too late, get to the highest ground you can, because that's really the best you will be able to do. But yeah, honestly, again, evacuation should have been done, especially on the beaches. Again, 3 to 5 feet storm surge was expected. Daytona Beach was expected to be pretty bad as well. Again, Daytona Beach is an area that we're seeing a lot more of the storm surge now coming inland. Again, the water is going east to west, so it's basically crashing into Daytona Beach right now. I'm not sure when high tide is up there, but I would assume it's somewhere around now as well. And we saw it like literally yesterday morning, where they were already starting to see some of that water come a bit further inland. So I mean, it was already beginning yesterday, and that was well before Nicole ever became anything that strong. So make sure that you are prepared. I said 3 to 5. No, not 35. 35 feet would be a lot. No, I mean, even Ian, I think Ian's peak storm surge is like 15 feet. So no, this is not going to get to 35 feet. That would take a lot. Wave height, though, could get upwards of 20 to 25 feet here near the coast. Now, that does not mean storm surge will be that high, but the waves could actually get upwards of 20 to 25 feet tonight. I'm going to see if we can go over to the computer model real quick, and I'll look and see if that's still holding. But I think the waves off the coast, the peak waves, will get upwards of 20 to 25 feet. Actually, it's forecasted to potentially get as high as 30 feet for waves. But again, that's not going to impact us directly. It's more of the storm surge, which is 3 to 5 feet. Waves are well off the coast, but little interesting little feature, I guess, there. Thank you, by the way, for those that just subscribed. I appreciate it. Thank you. No problem, Mama. Appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, Ian was well less than that. Yeah, Ian was nowhere in comparison to the storm surge that we're seeing here. But again, 3 to 5 feet is still a lot of storm surge, honestly. It is a lot of storm surge. Again, I was out there at the beach earlier today in Jensen Beach, and that beach was already up to where it should be at high tide at low tide. Like, I was out there at low tide, the water was way above where it even should be at high tide, and it was right at low tide. So yeah, the water's really high already. That was earlier today. So right now, there's probably a lot of that storm surge coming inland now. Time for some max velocity surfing. Yeah, right. I don't know. I didn't see anybody being that crazy today. I didn't see anybody surfing or anything like that, which is good. But I was only there a brief amount of time. But yeah, I didn't see anything that really made me think, you know, there's some really crazy people out here. I didn't see anything like that. We saw a lot of that with Ian. We saw some people go out onto piers when a Category 4 hurricane was coming, by the way. People were going out onto these piers. People were just being insane, basically, and doing these crazy things. And yeah, I mean, we saw crazy stuff with that. I have not seen anything that crazy, though, yet, at least from Nicole, which is good. But you know, hopefully people are not that crazy. We've seen people that have gone crazy, like surfing and all this other stuff when a hurricane's like coming. I mean, an Category 4, though, is something that should never be joked about, and especially even a Category 1. So interesting stuff, though. Yeah, there is a tornado potential. Let me go over and turn off this radar real quick. There is a possibility for an isolated tornado threat tonight, actually, and into tomorrow morning. So basically overnight tonight, there might be a couple of tornadoes. It's going to be a brief and weak threat. That would be from West Palm Beach back through about Jacksonville, Florida. It's a pretty small area for the most part. It's basically Orlando included in that, Jacksonville, Port St. Lucie, West Palm Beach, the Space and Treasure Coast basically included in that. I would say this potential is very low, but I can't rule out an isolated tornado or two. It's not out of the question at this point that that's a possibility tonight, especially again along the Space and Treasure Coast. That would be pretty much the only area that I expect it tonight. Tomorrow, this risk shifts off to the north. It goes all the way from about Palm Bay in Florida back through about Jacksonville, North Carolina. Tomorrow is a bit more concerning. I can't rule out a few tornadoes, maybe even I can't rule out several tornadoes, to be honest. I think the tornado threat tomorrow will be a bit higher overall. But going into the following day, let's go ahead and go over to day 3. The day 3 outlook for Friday really is a pretty large area. It goes from New Jersey back through Savannah, Georgia. Very large area. And again, Savannah, areas like Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Pennsylvania just do not see a marginal threat that often in the month of November. It is very rare. So very rare instance happening there. By the way, we have some new wind gust reports coming out of Florida. So a little update here on terms of the wind gusts that we're seeing out there now. We have a 60-mile-per-hour wind gust out of Klondike Beach. That was about an hour ago. And also out of Port St. Lucie and Jensen Beach. This area is new. We have a 60-mile-per-hour wind gust that has just been reported from a beach, our Jensen Beach oceanfront area. So 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts there out of the north. So winds seem to be coming out of the north now there near Jensen Beach. So just a little heads up there. Again, we are beginning to have the increased amount of wind gusts. And again, this is where the eye is. It's not far away from the coast right now. It's getting pretty close. Again, we're only about 40 miles-ish away from this making landfall. It will be making landfall most likely in the next 3 hours or so. And also, real quick, we have an update from the National Hurricane Center. From the latest advisory, pressure is down to 980 millibars. Wind is still at 75 miles per hour. So this Hurricane Nicole, is still forecast to make landfall as a Category 1 tonight. Again, as a Category 1 hurricane. So just a little update there. Again, we have our latest National Hurricane Center update for tonight. I don't think there's any major changes there, but there's definitely a couple there just to be kind of mindful of. I think the pressure changed a little bit. That was about it, though. Let me just double check. Also, by the way, NATO cast, which is not something I really use that often, but we do have a possibility, again, for maybe a few tornadoes. 15% probability that they're giving it across Carolina into Georgia. So it might be something to watch. South Carolina to Georgia tomorrow. Just kind of wanted to bring that up real quick. Again, NATO cast can sometimes overestimate it, but with tropical storms and hurricanes, it has been pretty accurate in the past. Let's see if we have anything else on here. And yeah, that's the main stuff. So yeah, that's the latest update. Again, nothing really changed with the latest National Hurricane Center update at 10 p.m. Again, it's only a few hours from landfall, so, you know, changes are going to be pretty minimal anyways, but the pressure is really the only thing that changed. It was only by like a couple of millibars, so that's about it. In terms of the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. Yeah, if the water was warmer, this would be very bad. Yeah, I mean, the ocean water here, I wish I could show you, but the ocean water here in the Atlantic Ocean is between 80 to 82 degrees. That's it. It's kind of on the low side, basically, but it is enough to strengthen a tropical storm or even sometimes a hurricane, in which we have a hurricane now. In the Gulf of Mexico over here, it's like 77 to 79 degrees, so it's not in that characteristic for it to really strengthen that much. And that's why Florida hurricanes are so rare in the month of November. In November specifically, we've only ever had 2 hurricanes make landfall in Florida. Both of them were in 1935 and 1985 as Category 2 hurricanes. Hurricane Kate and Hurricane Yankee were the 2 that made landfall in those 2 different years, which 50 years apart, by the way. This one's about 37 years later, and this is Hurricane Nicole, most likely to be making landfall as a hurricane here somewhere, again, on the east coast of Florida between Palm Bay to West Palm Beach. So yeah, it's, again, very interesting. This will only probably go down as the 3rd hurricane ever to make landfall in the state of Florida during the month of November. It's, again, a very rare occurrence in the state of Florida. So not something that you see every day. Something that you see every day. Now, this will not be anything in comparison to Hurricane Ian. I've had a lot of people asking that. Will this be like as bad as Hurricane Ian? It depends on what you mean by that. Because again, if you were like in an area, for example, if you were in Coral Springs, for example, during Hurricane Ian, you may have seen some winds between 30 to 40 miles per hour and probably not much in terms of rain or anything like that. So you might think that this is going to be probably actually the same for you. But if we're in an area like Port St. Lucie, I know Port St. Lucie last time had wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. This time around, they're going to be higher. The rainfall totals will be higher and the storm surge will be higher as well. So again, it really depends on where you are, but Hurricane Ian overall was a much worse hurricane, obviously, than what Nicole will be. Nicole will still provide a lot of impacts to areas along the East Coast, and unfortunately, those impacts are going to be potentially somewhat significant to the coastal regions. A lot of beach erosions expected. Storm surge is also forecasted to be pretty high out of this thing, and again, really, especially across the areas where this will make landfall, in here is going to be our worst area, most likely, of impact. Daytona Beach could still see some pretty hefty impacts back up that way as well, but rainfall totals will be nowhere in comparison to what we saw with Ian. Ian brought upwards of 2 feet of rain. This is only going to probably bring upwards of maybe 6 inches of rain in a couple of isolated spots. Can't rule out an isolated amount slightly higher, but Again, nothing in comparison to what we saw with Ian, in my opinion. There's a couple of similar characteristics for some areas. Again, if we're going city by city, you could say that Cape Coral in this scenario is obviously going to be much better off because this will not bring nearly as bad of impacts. But if we talk about Port St. Lucie, again, on the other hand, much worse impacts are coming out of this hurricane in comparison to Ian. So again, big differences for some locations, but overall, Ian was obviously much worse. This is not in that sort of realm, but it is going to be bad, obviously, for the East Coast. So even the West Coast, obviously, there are tropical storm warnings for a reason along the West Coast because there could be upwards of 5 feet of storm surge along the West Coast. Primarily, the storm surge threat will be kind of north of Tampa back through the panhandle of Florida. So kind of in the Big Bend region is where we'll have that storm surge potential. So yeah, again, similar in some instances, but that's more for cities. Overall, they're completely different, though. Thank you, Infinity, by the way, for the 199. Florida closing for... Okay, that's interesting. Thank you. Was gonna be something else. Northeast quadrant and tornadoes. I can't really talk about it yet because there's not, I mean, you can't really even see it on the radar. Let's see if I can kind of bring it up on something else, though. This is the best radar that we have for that, I think. Let's go over to the infrared, maybe. Yeah, so this is where a tornado potential would exist, most likely. It'd be on the northeast side of Hurricane Nicole. So again, this is where any tornado potential typically likes to sit because we have all the ingredients kind of come together. Even sometimes on the northern side, it's not impossible to have an isolated tornado threat. But if there would be any tornadoes, it'd be on the north side again, or northeast side, excuse me, of this hurricane. So right now, the only tornado potential are on the east side. But typically right now, I mean, it's going to probably be at least another 6 to 12 hours until this even comes close to land. And honestly, I think the tornado potential, isolated brief tornado or two, is possible. Again, it would be on the east coast of Florida through the Space Coast and Treasure Coast. But honestly, I think the biggest concern is not tornadoes. It's going to have to be the wind, the storm surge, and all that sort of stuff is going to be much more concerning. New update, by the way, that just came out of one of our METAR stations over near Port St. Lucie and the Vero Beach area. Wind gusts are picking up pretty substantially now as this continues to get closer. Let's go back to the live radar feed. And wind gusts has now been up to 54 miles per hour in the Vero Beach area. Near Port St. Lucie is near 43 miles per hour. So wind gusts are really ramping up now here along the east coast of Florida. Vero Beach again at 54, as well as Port St. Lucie near 43. So a couple of big updates there if you're along the east coast of Florida. Wind gusts are definitely ramping up now. All right. Hey, King Cheese, how you doing? Welcome back. Yeah, I'm not sure. The radar that I have, it doesn't go that far to the east, but we go over to the storm relative velocity. I'm going to look at my phone real quick. I don't think there's a whole lot of rotation with the cells that are kind of on the west side of this hurricane, but yeah, the winds are really picking up. If we go back over to the velocities real quick on this Hurricane Nicole, let's go over to the velocities on the high def radar. We'll take off the low def here real quick. So going out of the next Rad Pro radar, we'll take a look at that one once it loads in. Actually, I might have to refresh this real quick. There we go. So it should come in here in just a second. This will give us an idea on the velocities. And the highest winds that we're seeing, actually, and this is a pretty good indication of where the winds are right now inland, they're upwards of 50 to 60 right now. Across areas like Fort Pierce, White City, Port St. Lucie, all those areas, again, upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour right now. So that's what we're seeing in terms of winds a little bit further inland. Again, that's a few hundred feet off the ground, but it's a very relative indication of what we're seeing a little bit of above ground level. Rainfall rise right now. We're not seeing anything that's insane in terms of rain. A lot of light to moderate rain on the outskirts of this system, but once we get closer to the inner bands, we're seeing some moderate to heavy rain back through about Palm Bay and even into areas just west of West Palm Beach. So these are some of the moderate bands of rain, as well as even some heavy rain, indicating even back closer to areas like Vero Beach, we're starting to see some of those heavier rain bands near Sebastian and Indian River Shores. Back west of Lakewood Park, for example, some light to or moderate to heavier rain near the Interstate 95 stretch, west of Fort Pierce as well. And then we also have more rain coming with this still. We still have some of the more moderate showers coming inland as well on the northwest side of where Nicole is right now. We also have some heavy rain there on the outer bands here, or the inner bands, excuse me, right now of Hurricane Nicole right now. So a lot of things to keep in mind there. All right, let's go back over to here for right now. I'll get back again. If you have any questions, by the way, feel free to let me know in the chat. I'll get to a few of those here in a second. Let's do that, and let's do a little loop here. All right, let's get back over to the chat here real quick. Lancaster, South Carolina. Is that like along the coast? Let me look up what that is. wherever that is first. I think that might be more inland though. Yeah, that's more inland. So yeah, only threat right now for Lancaster specifically would just be maybe some wind threat, maybe 40 mile per hour, 50 mile per hour wind gusts at the peak. And otherwise, it's more just gonna be rain. Isolated tornado threat might exist, but it should be to your east, South Carolina. We're only 65 likes, by the way, from 500. If you've not already, make sure to hit the like button. Also, if you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. I would appreciate it. I don't know who this person is. I don't see your message, by the way, Min. I don't even know how to say your name, but it's funny. I didn't know you're at the Causeway in Jensen Beach. Hey, you might have saw me. I mean, I was there at like 1 p.m. though, so you never know. You might see me out there sometime. I might actually be out there tomorrow. We'll see. And I'll probably do a little aftermath stream. How big is the eye? Let's go back over to the radar here. We'll do a measurement. Let's go to here. Let's turn this off again. This is the eye. It does seem it's a little bit big. I think it's a little bit kind of elongated here, but this is just a general idea. It's probably right around 50 miles or so west and east. Again, it's 50 miles, not 63. And then for whatever reason, the miles are adding like 6 or 9 onto it or something like that. And then 50 miles north to south, basically. So that's kind of like the eye. It's actually pretty large overall, which means the wind in the center of this is going to be pretty low overall. Winds have actually dived down a little bit here on the southeast side of this, but this area is going to see winds maybe between 10 to 30 miles per hour. It's going to be much less in the center of this. On the outer bands, though, in here, this area will see upwards of 60 to 90 mile per hour wind gusts most likely. So wind gusts will be much higher there on those inner bands, especially once this makes landfall, which again, it's still a few hours from landfall, but we're going to see again within the next hour or two, wind gusts really ramp up here along the east coast of Florida. So again, be prepared if you're along the east coast of Florida, because again, wind gusts will really start to ramp up here pretty soon. Go back on this loop here for a second. All right, back to some questions here. That drive down Interstate 95 takes forever. I think it's that bad. Interstate 95 is probably like the best highway. If you live in Florida and you ever went on Interstate 4, that is the worst highway going, like, by far. The absolute worst. I think it's the worst highway, honestly, in general. All right, nothing new there on Twitter. I'll see if there's actually anything else coming in for photos or videos. We'll take a look at that here real quick. By the way, just a little update. According to Reed Timmer, there's now been a pier swept away near Melbourne Beach, Florida, which is not too surprising. I was already starting to see some of those sort of things near areas like Jensen Beach. We were already starting to see some of the piers really taking a lot of damage, at least. Some of them were being completely destroyed, even in the intercoastal areas. So just a little update there. Again, we'll have more updates on that tomorrow. I'm going to see if there's any other photos, though, on Twitter that I've not already seen. Think there's anything I missed. Yeah, there's nothing I missed so far. So yeah, that's the latest though. Out of that, Lava, there's a ton of alerts. I mean, we have storm surge warnings, we have hurricane warnings, we have tropical storm warnings, we have all sorts of warnings in terms of that regard. The most important ones though are going to be hurricane warnings and tropical storm warnings, and as well as the storm surge warnings. So those are the biggest concerns right now. Again, with a storm surge warning, it means that storm surge is expected within the next 24 hours, which is already ongoing again across the east coast of Florida. So yeah, what we're looking at right now. Hey, thanks, Greg. I appreciate it. No problem at all. I remember a storm this late in the year. Yeah, it's not common. November is it's still hurricane season. It's just less common because again, the water temperatures are going to be cooling down. Over here in the Atlantic Ocean, water temperatures again in here are 80 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit, and then back over here in the Gulf of Mexico, it's between 77 to 79 in the northern Gulf of Mexico specifically. So with water temperatures being just warm enough, a tropical storm or hurricane can develop in this environment. It's hard to, but this one obviously overcame that. And then 77 to 79 over here in the northern Gulf is definitely not really warm enough to uphold that, which again, Nicole is likely to track into the northeast Gulf of Mexico, but it's not going to strengthen by any means. It's going to actually weaken over that portion of the Gulf. So there is a tornado threat, but it's pretty low. It's tonight, I would say tonight it's low. Tomorrow it's medium across the southeast, primarily from Florida back through North Carolina, really across the coastal regions more than anything. There's going to be like a medium, I would say, tornado potential. Then going into Friday, I'd say it's kind of in that low to medium range right now. And that's a pretty large area. It's mostly just the mid-Atlantic region, but yeah. Yeah, honestly, tornadoes are not my biggest concern by any means tonight. I would say the biggest concern, again, is those wind gusts getting upwards of 80 to 90, and as well as a lot of rainfall as well. Again, storm surge. Those are the biggest threats right now. Storm surge and winds are the really my main two concerns. Flooding, rains are possible still, but it's going to become a bit more of a lower threat, I would say, overall. I'd say a tornado potential is not too concerning to me. I know there's a slight risk of a 5% probability of tornadoes, but I just don't see that happening tonight, honestly. I just don't. I don't think so, Jelly. If there's any, it's gonna be pretty low. Jason, I don't know if there's really any alerts that need to be issued, though. I mean, like, realistically, there's not really much in terms of needing alerts for. I mean, we had, like, extreme wind warnings with Ian, but that was because those characteristics were being met. There's not really any warnings, I would say, that have to be issued here at this point for at least this specific hurricane right now. I mean, there's no tornado warnings, obviously, because we don't have that sort of threat right now. But by the way, it seems like the radar site has gone down, possibly. Oh, wait, never mind. It might just glitch down here. All right, never mind. I was about to say, I don't think the radar site went out. Let me double check real quick. I think it might just be glitched on here. Yeah, it's just glitched. All right, never mind. So yeah, the radar site's up. But yeah, again, this is the current look of the live radar. So we have a lot of these moderate bands of rain right now inland near Sebastian, back through Port St. Lucie, just west of there. And then going back through about West Palm Beach, still some light to moderate rain there. Again, we still have more heavier bands of rain kind of on the northern side of this. Where the heaviest of the rainfall will come out of Hurricane Nicole will likely be in this region here, near Merritt Island, back through about the Yeehaw Junction area. And near Vero Beach, we'll probably see the most hefty impacts in terms of rainfall. Rain totals could get upwards of 2 to 5 inches of rain in some of those areas. Isolated amounts, again, slightly higher, are not out of the question. So, yeah, that's it. That's really like one of the only radar sites. So yeah, that radar site's working. My bad. I thought it was out. For some reason on here it shows red, but it's going. We're chilling with this radar. It's not out by any means. Again, here's your eye. This is the eye again of Hurricane Nicole. It's crazy to call it a hurricane. But it is, again, a hurricane. It's a Category 1 hurricane. So again, some heavier rain bands on the inner, basically the eye wall, I would call it kind of, but it's not really an eye wall, but it's kind of just north there. On the northern side of Nicole, going towards, again, areas like Port St. Lucie and Vero Beach, we'll have that heavier rain most likely start to approach areas. I'd actually say maybe slightly further north than Vero Beach, maybe near Palm Bay, could have some heavier rain bands from the inner bands here of Hurricane Nicole. So it'll be something to watch for as it approaches the coastline. All right, let's go back over to here for now. Again, this is a short wave. I kind of like looking at this. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, tornado threat's really not going to begin until overnight. Yeah, again, if there's any tornado threat in the day 1 time frame, it's not going to be until literally overnight tonight. So it's not really in the short term. It's more of a long-term threat at this point. But again, it's very low still, regardless. I keep having it. I don't know why I keep getting notifications in Discord. Yeah, turn this off real quick. Yeah, if you're just tuning in and you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the chat. And if you are new here, hit the subscribe button down below. We are currently 12 subscribers from 26,800. And make sure to like the stream as well if you're enjoying the coverage so far. We're only 26 likes as well from 500. You're good, Shelly. No problem. The chat's not going too fast, so you'll be good. I got the chat open on here. Passing through Sarasota, it's going to be a tropical storm through that area. But wind gusts could still get upwards of 60 to 70. So wind gusts will still be pretty high over that direction. Yeah, Live, it kind of varies on where the positioning of a hurricane is, or even a tropical storm. Again, if the tropical storm, for example, is here, the tornado threat is typically over on the north and east side of the tropical storm or hurricane. And then in comparison with what we saw with Ian, the outer bands, this is where Ian was, I'm pretty sure. It's somewhere over here, like west of the Keys. We are having a tornado threat. There was actually a tornado outbreak over here on the southeast side of Florida with all those outer bands the day before it even made landfall. Then when it made landfall the day of, well, I don't think we had any tornadoes that day. If not, there might have been like one when it actually made landfall near Cape Coral. Then eventually moved off to the northeast. And I don't think there's really any tornadoes on the day of landfall. So it depends on positioning. Positioning though for this is not there. So positioning that is not there right now for a tornado threat. It might be later on tonight into tomorrow morning. Again, that's when that tornado threat does exist. Again, it's low. It's not zero, but it is on the low side. I think on tomorrow late morning to the afternoon, I think that will increase, especially across areas like Georgia and as well as into South Carolina. So I think that tornado threat's higher the further north we go. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it. Yeah, Joshua, it's basically when the lowest pressure is measured. That's typically what they consider by landfall. Have a great night, by the way, Shell. I appreciate you tuning in. Get the help. Is there any storms associated with Nicole? I will look real quick. From my understanding, I don't think we have any like storm activity though right now ongoing. I'll look real quick though. It's only on the northeast side of it. Again, that would be what we're not seeing on the radar over here. This is where we're seeing some thunderstorm activity. Again, that's on the northeast side where we might see a potential for a couple of tornadoes going into tomorrow morning. But that is, again, not on our radar yet. But yeah, there's some lightning out that direction. Otherwise, no lightning on the west side of this by any means. So I'll have to look into that lava. I've actually never really looked into that specific hurricane. I'll have to look into that. I'll have to see if it really compares. I've actually never looked into that one before. I've looked into so many different tropical storms and hurricanes, but you know, there's just so many of them. Obviously, the ones that make landfall, I mean, United States landfall, in terms of that, there's typically not that many. I mean, we have a couple at least per year typically, but yeah, it'll be interesting to look at that. I'll have to compare that after the stream. See. It might be kind of similar though. Might be. Real quick, I'm gonna look at Twitter again real quick and see if we have any other photos coming in on there. New report, by the way, out of the Florida coast near Coral Springs. We actually have a wind report of 41 miles per hour via a person on Twitter. So just the latest update there. So again, wind gusts are starting to get higher again on the coastline right now, especially near areas like Port St. Lucie through Palm Bay. Real quick, we have a couple of live cams. I'm not sure if anything's going on in any of them, but we'll look real quick. This is currently out of Titusville. Wind is starting to pick up a bit. Again, you kind of see the sign swaying a little bit there. Nothing too crazy though in Titusville right now. That is back up near the Cape Canaveral area, a little bit further inland though. But wind is definitely picking up a little bit. Camera is shaking a little bit. This camera is still not working, but we have another camera back over in Palm Bay, which you can see again, it's very hard to see. It's gotten blurry, but look at the water on the roadways at the bottom right of your screen. That is actually a road there. There's water blowing across the road there, and there's actually cars out there. So yeah, again, a lot of rain there as well. We have seen some heavier bands of rain there in Palm Bay. Actually, a lot more heavy rain's about to roll into Palm Bay. If we go back over to the live radar feed right now, this is the live radar. Palm Bay seeing some heavy downpours right now, all coming out of the northwest, moving inland, as well as Sebastian and Vero Beach. Again, seeing some of those heavier rain bands right now coming out of the northeast, moving southwest. So be mindful of that if you're over in Palm Bay. A lot more heavy rain is to come. And then back over here again along the coastline, Vero Beach, still seeing some wind gusts between 50 to 60 miles per hour inland. On the other hand, along the beaches, again, we're talking about 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts most likely in those areas. So that's what we have ongoing for those areas right now in terms of winds and all that sort of stuff. All right, I think I missed something. Okay, never mind. Long stream. I don't know if I'll be live too much long. I'm not sure how long I'll be live. If my power goes out, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna continue my live stream after that because I won't be able to get power back most likely, but we'll see. Again, I probably will lose power at some point. Let's look at the power outage map real quick. I'm actually curious to see. Yeah, again, power outages have not been that significant so far. I think it's mostly been beaches. If we go back over to the power outage map, let's go over to that. This is the power outages according to poweroutage.us. So if you're curious if you've lost power in your county yet and you're in Florida, power outages across the state at 12,500. That number was around 7,000 approximately like an hour ago. So the highest counties, Brevard County is up to 2,500. Indian River County is at 840. as well as St. Lucie County at 830, Martin County 190, Palm Beach County at 1600, and then back near Broward County 290, and then Miami-Dade County around 1500. So not too significant so far. Volusia County at 90. So I think most of the power outages that we've seen so far are probably on the immediate coastline. And according to poweroutage.us is where we got that information from. But yeah, again, it's I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if I'll lose power. I did lose power at one point during Hurricane Ian, but yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I don't know if it'll be anywhere similar or not. We'll have to wait and see. By the way, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the chat. Yes, Mystic, I am in Florida. I did some storm chasing earlier. You may have already missed out on that, but again, I have a lot of clips up on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter and you want to check out a lot of the footage that we got in Jensen Beach, Florida, where this system is where Hurricane Nicole is most likely going to make landfall, you can check out a bunch of those clips on my Twitter page. I'll put the link in the chat again. Make sure to go follow me while you're at it. I'm going to put a few of them up here on the screen, though. If you're not able to access Twitter, I'll try to see if I can find a few. This is a couple of the clips that we had. Again, I'll show you a few of them. I'll show you like some of the better ones here. This was right along the intercoastal area of Jensen Beach. Let me put back on audio before I go too far into this, so you guys can hear what's going on. This is on the intercoastal area of Jensen Beach. This is at 1 o'clock. Again, this is when we had, or actually this is at 4 o'clock. This is at low tide. Again, this is not at high tide, and the waves are super high already at this point. And one thing I'm going to point out to you real quick on this video is that once we get closer to about here, this person is coming off this pier, which is already beginning to flood over. This guy was fishing on the pier, which is kind of, you know, insane to me at this point. But yeah, I zoomed in on him. I could not believe that this guy was fishing on this pier with all these waves around him and stuff. I mean, that was kind of crazy. Yeah, there's this fishing pole. You can actually see it there. But yeah, that was the big thing. A couple of spectators in the area. We had a lot. There was actually a good 15 cars on this little causeway in Jensen Beach. So yeah, there was a lot of people there. Also, another look at it. This is at 4 o'clock as well. Waves really choppy. Again, pretty high. This is at low tide again. So a lot of wave activity there from this video as well. And this is all taken on my little storm chase today. And not sure if this one has anything. Not really, just a little video. We had better video here. This is of the boat.
Look over to my left. The wind is very strong. The waves are starting to damage this boat substantially right along the coastline.
Yeah, and the wind was really high. I was literally screaming into my phone that I was using to record this. But yeah, this is a boat that has been basically overflowed, and it's basically tied up to the little structure there. I do expect that this will not be there tomorrow. I would be surprised if this boat is still there tomorrow, because I will be doing a little aftermath, a little chase tomorrow most likely, and I'll be checking to see if that boat is still there or not. But I don't think that boat is there anymore.
The only thing that's holding it up and keeping it inland is a rope attached to a very...
And this is the rope that's keeping this boat here, by the way. It's that. And again, the wind is going north to south. So this is basically off to the north over here. The wind is coming this direction. And again, the boat and all the water, it's all pushing against land. So that's why it's being able to stay there. Again, I think this is more of like some sort of an insurance claim sort of thing. I don't think this was, you know, an accident by any means. I think this is more intentional. But yeah, that was a sight to see basically over there in the Jensen Beach area. So yeah, again, we saw a few of those little things there, but that was probably the main thing today. I'll have to look into that, Cole, in the future. This will probably, I hope this is our last tropical system in Florida. But yeah, I'll have to look into that for sure for future reference. Lost power for 5 days after Ian. Really, 5 days? Man, I think I lost power once and it was really brief, but I know some people were without power for like a week or two. But the power crews were really hard at working for that, so give them credit. They were out there. They had so many trucks out there helping to restore power as quickly as possible. So give them credit. I mean, they had a lot of trucks out there trying to help the best they could. I mean, like literally, even I was traveling yesterday and there was a bunch of trucks, excuse me, already beginning to prepare. I mean, I saw a whole line of them on Interstate 95. I mean, there was just a bunch of them. So, I mean, let's be real. I mean, there was a lot of power trucks out there that were, you know, already preparing for this event as well. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. Again, there's a lot of people that are trying to help out, especially with the aftermath of all this. So, hey, Clint, how you doing? Welcome. Also, we're only 3 subscribers right now from 26,800. If you've not already, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. I would appreciate it. Again, we do tropical storm, hurricane coverage, all that sort of stuff. We also do severe weather coverage across the entire lower 48 of the United States. So if you live in the United States, You'll not miss a thing if you subscribe here to Max Velocity. I might do an aftermath stream tomorrow, by the way, so start for that too. Atlanta to Tampa. Probably late Friday. Mid to late Friday will be fine, I would say, Jones. Kind of my suggestion. Yeah, I'd say that's probably a reasonable time to leave and go to Tampa. Because this system will, I mean, you might still run into a little bit of rain at the beginning, but I mean, by mid-Friday, like afternoon and evening hours, you should be fine, honestly. Let me actually go over to the radar over here. We'll go back over to the future radar. Give you a better idea of doing this. Kind of look at that. This is the future radar here. We'll go up to it, or we'll go up to Georgia and South Carolina real quick. Just for the long-term thing, or long-term longevity with this. This is Thursday night to Friday morning. This is by 12 o'clock on Friday. It's already past Atlanta, so I would say after 12 would be fine. There you go. By 1 o'clock, most of the rain's already out of Georgia, so good news there. So yeah, you should be fine in the Friday time frame. That works for you. Hey, there you go. Yeah, 40, 50 mile per hour winds typically doesn't knock out power. 60 miles per hour and above will most often knock out power. Hey, that's good. That's good to hear, Sean. You know, with what last time when I was outside and when Ian made landfall, I saw several transformers blowing up, and Ian brought 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. I'm pretty sure to where I was at. So I don't even know the exact number, but yeah, they were pretty hefty. So yeah, the winds are definitely going to get up there. We'll see if there's any power outages that are significant, but so far it's been very, very isolated, but I would expect them to ramp up a bit more. Because again, Nicole is still a few hours from landfall. Peak wind gusts are going to be within the net, are probably going to be in about 2 to 3 hours. So I would still say that the highest wind gusts are still a couple hours from now. Thanks, Mystic, for the 199. No, I did not buy a hot dog from the gas station. There was hardly anything open today. Again, when I was out in Jensen Beach, when I was doing my little storm chase today, and again, I was out there for several hours since it was a long drive, but Jensen Beach specifically is an area that there is nothing open. I mean, there was Wendy's was closed, McDonald's was closed, Publix was closing it too. I was lucky to get into Publix there. So yeah, everything was closing there. So yeah, there's nothing open, trust me. Yeah, Publix, I mean, I was literally trying to just get, Publix, just like a, something to eat at least. And yeah, it was closing at 2. So we got there just in time. Thoughts on Orlando? Orlando will be mostly a wind concern, so 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts will be possible up there. Can't rule out isolated higher amounts, but rain possible, maybe up to 2 to 3 inches, maybe, but that's about it. It won't be as bad as Ian. Let's just say that for Orlando. That's crazy. That's crazy for 2 weeks. Yeah, there were some areas that lost power for weeks on end, so yeah, Ian packed a punch without a doubt. Yoshi, this will be making landfall in a couple of hours, maybe 2 to 3 hours. Probably near Vero Beach or Port St. Lucie. That's where it's going to make landfall, so. Yeah, exactly, Sean. I actually might go out after. I'm not going to be probably live that much longer, but I might even go out for a little bit and just kind of observe what's going on out there. I might actually do a little storm chase for maybe about 20 to 30 minutes in a little bit. I might do that after the stream, which I don't know when the stream will end, but. Yeah, I might do a little. And if I get any footage, by the way, I'll send it into. I'll put it on Twitter and stuff like that. So again, make sure you follow me on Twitter. That link is in the description below. But might do a little stream, or not. It won't be a stream, but I'll do a little like chase. I'm only gonna be out there for like half an hour. It won't be worth the stream. No problem, Yoshi. They say for Rob. Yeah, the wind gusts are gonna be pretty high tonight. I actually haven't heard any wind yet. I'm kind of surprised, but I think it's pretty windy out there. I just haven't heard it. I hope they don't use my name for a hurricane. Isn't that what everybody hopes? I don't know if there's a hurricane max velocity out there, but you never know. Hurricane max velocity might become a thing in the future. All right. Pretty calm in West Palm Beach. Yeah, honestly, I've been kind of mentioning this, but the wind field, if we go back over to here real quick, the wind field with this hurricane is quite remarkable. It is huge. The only thing is, it's all on the northern side for the most part of the eye. This is where the eye is right now. And West Palm Beach is like right on this line. So you're pretty much right around tropical storm force winds, kind of on the brink of it. But yeah, the wind field is enormous. And again, the wind field is almost the size of Texas. That's how large it is. So wind can be felt as far north as South Carolina, can be felt in Georgia, and even can almost be felt in North Carolina. It is enormous. And I've never seen anything this large before in terms of the wind field. It is, again, this is all tropical storm force winds here. But yeah, it's crazy. But more importantly, again, the wind field down in southern Florida, there's not much of anything in terms of tropical storm force winds in the Keys or anything like that. Again, we have winds coming out of the west over here, or east, excuse me, over here. And then over down here to the southwest, we have southwesterly winds going towards this eye. So the winds are naturally going to be a little bit less down here. But yeah, all the wind has been, for the most part, on this northern side. That's also where most of the convection has been as well with this hurricane. So it's very interesting. It's very, very interesting, at least from my standpoint. It's very interesting. Have a great night, Jelly. Appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, it was subtropical a couple of days ago, so it has organized a little bit more now. Hey Jay, how you doing? Welcome back. Yeah, if you have any specific questions, feel free to let me know in the chat. If you're enjoying the stream so far, make sure you subscribe as well. Make sure to hit the like button. We actually hit 500 likes. I appreciate everybody liking the stream tonight. Again, I'll probably do a little aftermath stream tomorrow. That's the plan. So see what happens there. Susan, no, you're good. It's going to make landfall as a Category 1. Sustained winds at 75 miles per hour is the current National Hurricane Center's forecast. It won't get to a Category 2 by any means, but it might even be just a tropical storm upon landfall. But either way, 5 miles per hour is not going to make a massive difference to the impacts. The impacts are going to be, for the most part, the same. 5 miles per hour, it can be a big difference, but in this case, it's not going to make or break anything that big of a deal. I mean, it's going to be pretty much the same impacts. So, yeah, again, high-end tropical storm or a low-end Category 1 hurricane upon landfall is expected. Winds will be peaking there, Freak, around 5 a.m. tomorrow. So yeah, winds will get up there, maybe 50 to 60 miles per hour. Yeah, I would definitely expect winds to be a bit higher then. All right. Eye looks more organized than before. Yeah, it's actually a pretty large eye. I wouldn't say it's that organized. It's still a bit. I don't see the eye being that organized, but it is definitely a pretty large eye. I mean, this is one of the largest eyes that I've seen from a tropical storm / low-end hurricane. So yeah, it's pretty large, but it's not overly organized. It has a little bit of organization, has some characteristics to maybe a little bit of like an eye wall, for example, but it isn't that impressive in my opinion. Again, all the wind for the most part is on this northern side of the ongoing Hurricane I just said Laura. Nicole. On the northern side of Hurricane Nicole, though, that is where most of the wind has been. That's the wind that we'll probably see upwards of 70 to maybe even 90 miles per hour in terms of wind gusts. Wind speeds are probably somewhere between about 60 to 70 in that region right now. So yeah, the winds are definitely higher on the northern side. And so there is going to be another flight from the National Hurricane Center. I'm pretty sure it's at 1 a.m. That's their next advisory. So we'll have an update in about 2 hours on whether the wind is upwards of up to that sort of threshold, of maybe up to maybe 80 or down to 70. It might change at that 1 a.m. update. So again, that's right around when this will make landfall. It's probably 1, 2, maybe 3 in the morning. So the expectation, at least at this point. Yeah, this eye is pretty big though. It's pretty large. It's pretty large. It's definitely not your typical sort of eye. It's on the larger side for being a Category 1 hurricane for sure. All right, let me go over to Facebook real quick. Yeah, so for those that are new here, I do North Texas weather on Facebook, and I also do nationwide weather here on YouTube, so it's a big fine balance. I just gotta check Facebook real quick, though, because I did post something today. I just need to see if there's anything new on that. But yeah, North Texas is supposed to have a big dip in temperatures this upcoming weekend. Temperatures, in terms of wind chills, are going to get into the 20s and teens. Oh, yeah. Interesting stuff. Obviously, on the other hand, we have Hurricane Nicole, so... After Hurricane Nicole's done, I'm honestly going to be pretty happy because we don't have to deal with these hurricanes forever. I remember doing Hurricane Ian coverage. That was a 7-day event that I was covering that. I mean, literally, I was covering it from like 6 days before, or 5 days before it made landfall, all the way up to landfall, and then 2 days after basically landfall. So that was elongated landfall. This is going to be about a 2 to 3 day stream. So after Nicole, though, we're back to just mostly winter weather stuff because, again, we have a big winter storm ongoing. There's actually snow already back up here in South Dakota, so that's, you know, interesting. We're already having some snow up there. Big winter storm is coming up there over the next 24 hours. Then we'll be back to some severe weather, so back to somewhat normal stuff. Again, this is not a common occurrence that we have a hurricane making landfall in Florida. Again, the history behind this in November is that we've only had 2 hurricanes ever make landfall in the state of Florida in the month of November. One of them was in 1935. It was Hurricane Yankee as a Category 2. And we also had another Category 2 hurricane make landfall as Hurricane Kate in 1985 in the state of Florida. And this would be pretty much the 3rd hurricane to ever make landfall in the state of Florida. It would be probably, I'm not saying it's definitely, but Hurricane Nicole will probably be a Category 1 hurricane upon landfall. So just a little bit of history there. I already answered that question a while ago. I already said winds are going to be probably around 50 to 60 at around 5 in the morning in Tampa. The current expectation there. Peak 50 to 60 gusts. Can't roll it up to 65, but that would be probably the range. Actually, funny enough, there actually might be some snow. It's possible over in again, interestingly enough, possibly some snow in Oklahoma. Not in western Oklahoma, possibly even like central southern Oklahoma. Could see a little bit of some snow action. Not really anything too significant, but maybe some flurries or something like that, possibly going into early next week, maybe Monday. So that will be interesting to say the least. Yeah, again, big things coming. I've been trying to mention that in my forecast the last couple of days. Again, big cold blast is coming. Just be prepared for it. Again, the entire United States, for the most part, will feel those impacts. The 6 to 10 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center indicates the entire United States will most likely be below average temperatures next week. So it's going to get cold out there for sure. Crazy, crazy stuff. No problem, Joyce. Can't confirm. I live in Oklahoma, yeah. So there might be a little bit of something there, but it's going to get cold too. Fort Lauderdale was flooded 4 hours ago everywhere. Really? Maybe near the beaches. I don't know if it really flooded that far inland though. I know areas closer to the coastline. I know like right along the actual beaches here. If we take off the radar here, this area's most of these roads are already flooded. I mean, anything along this Jensen Beach stretch, and even going up the coast here through Fort Pierce, St. Lucie area, Lakewood Park, just east of there, Vero Beach. Actually, Vero Beach just had a recent wind gust, by the way, of 60 miles per hour, just about. So wind gusts are starting to really ramp up there. But yeah, right along those areas, those streets are for the most part flooding over. Inland, like closer to areas, like if we go a little bit further inland, like near Rio, Jensen Beach, Seawalls Point, Stewart, those areas not going to be flooded as much, but maybe right along the coastline as possible. But yeah, right along that initial coastline, the beaches, again, are having the most significant impacts out of Hurricane Nicole right now. So yeah, that's where we're really where we're seeing the most significant impacts at this point out of Hurricane Nicole. Hey, no problem, Bird's Nest. Appreciate you tuning in. No problem. Don't know why you're open. I don't know either. I have no clue. There are some airports that are actually open through this. I know the major airports like Orlando. I think Miami too. I don't know if Miami closed. I know Orlando has closed. There's a couple of other ones. Maybe Fort Lauderdale or West Palm Beach. One of the two, I think, closed as well ahead of Nicole. So I'm not entirely sure what the actual ones are, but those are, I think, a couple of them that have closed. I know Orlando has for sure. I don't know how long they're closed for, but Orlando International Airport is going to be closed for a little bit. But Tampa, I don't know. I think Tampa will be upwards of 50 to 60 in the morning. I think during the afternoon, you'll start to kind of clear out a bit more, but I got no clue. PBI is closed. Okay, thank you. PBI is closed. Orlando's closed. FLL, which is Fort Lauderdale Airport, I believe, is open. think I've flown out of the airport before. I can't remember. But yeah. Oh, you work near the airport. I gotcha. That's interesting. Yeah, some places are open. I mean, everywhere that I went, like literally when I was doing my little storm chasing thing over here near Jensen Beach. Again, this is the area that I did some storm chasing. It was like right here. Let me get a better color for this. But it was like right in here. That was where I was at. I did a little bit along the coast here as well. Again, you can check out all those clips on Twitter, on my Twitter page. Link in the description if you want to check those out. But this is the area that I did a bit of storm chasing earlier today. And there was nothing open. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So everything was closed. I mean, like literally every place. I think the only place that actually was open was maybe McDonald's. I mean, like literally everything. Wendy's was closed. Publix was closed. Everything. So yeah, it was very, very quiet. There was a lot of people still driving out there because people wanted to see what was going on along the beaches and stuff. But yeah, it was a lot of stuff was closed. Freaks, not really. I mean, I was driving today in 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts, so it's not unsafe. You just need to make sure you have good control of your car because it's not horrible. I mean, yeah, it's not 50 miles per hour isn't horrible. Once you start getting above 70, it can become a bit more dangerous to drive out there. Really, when you get above like 80, 90, it gets really bad. So, Mystic, I don't think you can pre-buy 48 months of membership. So, yeah, I don't think that's possible. Hey, have a great night, Susan. Hey, appreciate it. Have a good night. Appreciate you tuning in. Waffle House is probably open too. Yeah, Waffle House, McDonald's, probably the only two places open. I know you're no problem, freaks, no problem. you're good, Doug. Caps is technically a rule, but I mean, I don't really care. I know we have one chat moderator, Shelly. Whenever she's here, she'll typically delete caps stuff, but I don't really care. You know. Have a great night, freaks. Have a good one. At 4 a.m., that's early. I could barely wake up at 9 a.m. to be honest. I'm a night person. Have a good one, though. Appreciate you tuning in. Ethan, there is. It's just not on here. If we go over to the infrared imagery, it might become a bit more clear. The radar does not go that far out into the ocean. That's why. This is the infrared imagery. Gives you a much better idea. There is rain over here. This is the convection right over here. Well, I can actually outline it. Like, it's all of this here, but there is some on the eastern side. It's not a lot in comparison to what we've seen with like Ian, for example, but this is where we do have some storm activity. So yeah, on the inner side of it as well, we have convection there. That was visible on radar, but further out here, this is a few hundred miles from the radar site, so we're not going to be able to see that. There's no radar out there in the ocean. So yeah, I mean, that's the reason why. Evan, the expected time for landfall will be about 2 or 3 a.m. tonight. Miami's open, but flights are delayed. Thank you, Joyce. So yeah, I know a few airports closed. Orlando is the main one that I've heard. I've also heard Florida, Fort Lauderdale was the other one. Hey, thank you, Doug, by the way, for the $5 super chat. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate the support. I appreciate everybody that has actually given a super chat today and also the gifted memberships from earlier. I don't know if any of those people are still here, but I really do appreciate the support. There was a lot of them today, but I do appreciate it. It paid off for the gas money that I used for today for going after Hurricane Nicole back over in Jensen Beach. We did some storm chasing earlier, so at least helped paid off for the expensive gas, at least. Hey, thanks, Pete. I appreciate it. Spring Hill and Brooksville. I don't know where that is. Let me look that up. Spring Hill, Florida. Well, that's by the west coast. Main concern there will be storm surge. Wind gusts could get upwards of 50 to 60, but storm surge, if you're right on the coast, is going to be a concern. Rainfall amounts, maybe up to 2 inches. Yeah, that'll be about it. But storm surge is the biggest concern, I would say, for you. But wind gusts could get up to 50 to 60 as well. So isolated power outages, not impossible. Power outages, again, have actually been fairly good so far tonight. I mean, there hasn't been that many. We're still actually, interestingly enough, power outages were near 13,000 about 20 to 30 minutes ago. They are now down to 11,000. So again, power is being restored pretty quickly, which is good news. The power crews are out there. I mean, this hurricane is not as bad as Ian, so power crews can be out there a little bit more. I would expect they kind of take a bit more shelter once this actually gets closer to land. But yeah, okay, that's the latest there. We do have a new wind gust report coming out of Vero Beach, by the way, at 58 miles per hour at the Vero Beach, airport. 58-mile-per-hour wind gust was just reported there. So that's the latest there. That's our peak wind gust so far in Vero Beach. A little bit further inland. Again, wind gusts on the beach, right there on the beach, are much higher. So again, if you're right on the beaches, you're going to feel much higher wind gusts. I was out there earlier. They were much higher than what was being estimated inland. So no problem, Evan. No problem. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the chat. We do have an update from the National Hurricane Center. There's actually an 11 p.m. update that just came out, which is interesting. The latest update, let's see. I don't know if there's any big differences here. Settlement point of Grand Bahama Island was 58-mile-per-hour wind gust. That was over in the Bahamas. Most recent update at the 11 p.m. advisory, there's not much to say other than that currently where Nicole is in terms of its position. Let me pause this loop here. The latest, though, on the position of Nicole, and it's making landfall 50 miles currently to the east of West Palm Beach. So this is currently the center of this is about 50 miles, I would say a bit more northeast now of West Palm Beach. So again, it's getting close to landfall. It's not too far away. On the other hand, we also have, let's see, pressure. I don't know if it's changed. Pressure is still 980 millibars, so it hasn't really, I don't think that's changed. It might have dropped by 2. Let's see. No, it's still the same. So yeah, pressure is still 980. So yeah, that's the latest update. It's also 40 miles to the northwest of Settlement Point in Grand Bahama Island. Yeah, that's the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. It's moving west-northwest at 13 miles per hour as well. So that's our latest update on Hurricane Nicole. Again, it'll be making landfall tonight in about 2 to 3 hours near Port St. Lucie or Vero Beach. Again, if you want more details on all of this, you can go back to the very beginning of this live stream. Has all those details for you. But other than that, I'm actually going to end this live stream a little bit early because I do think I'm going to lose power at some point. I do appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. I really do appreciate all the super chats, the new members and stuff like that. I plan on an aftermath stream tomorrow. So make sure, again, if you're new here, to hit the subscribe button and like the stream. If you want to see that, by the way, make sure to turn on post notifications as well. I would appreciate it. Again, I will probably do an aftermath stream tomorrow. Again, I'll be going back out to Jensen Beach, taking a look and seeing if that that boat is still there or not. So I'll be out there tomorrow. But other than that, if there's anything important to cover tonight, I might go back live at 1 to 2 a.m. But I think I'm going to lose power here pretty soon, so I don't want to, all of a sudden have this live stream just go out all of a sudden. But there's nothing really too much more to talk about. Again, it's still a couple hours from landfall, so if there's anything to be noted and I still have power, I'll go back live at like 1 or 2. But it's unlikely. But if there's anything, I will go back live. All right. I do appreciate you tuning in, though. Have a great, safe rest of your night. Again, if you're on the track of this, make sure you stay safe. Have a way to receive alerts. If you want to check out the clips that I had in Jensen Beach today for my storm chase, go over to my Twitter page. I would appreciate if you follow there and stay updated with the latest. Again, I'll be posting updates on Twitter all evening as well as into the overnight hours if I'm able to. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Have a great, safe rest of your night. Again, I appreciate the super chats and new members. I will see you guys all again soon.